Databricks data engineers are in high demand in 2025. But if and only if you master Databricks Declarative Pipelines, aka Delta Live Tables. Because this is the hottest topic right now in the big data industry. Plus, it has recently got so many upgrades and API changes that you need to master. That's why I have created this end-to-end full course on Databricks Declarative Pipelines, covering all the recent upgrades, all the API changes, and everything is from scratch, including Declarative Framework, Lakeflow Code Editor, Streaming Tables and Materialized Views, Append Flow API, Batch Views and Streaming Views, Data Quality Checks with Expectations, Absurd Tables, Slowly Changing Dimensions Type 1 and Type 2, Dimensional Data Model, Aggregated Views, Parameterization, Pipeline Monitoring, and much more. This is the most in-detailed course available anywhere on Databricks Declarative Pipelines. And I have literally spent lots of efforts in order to create this course so that you can just crack your dream offers this year. And you know what? Today is my birthday, so I'm really double triple excited to kickstart this masterpiece. And obviously I'm expecting like double triple love from you on this particular video. So just show your love in the comment section and let's get started with this masterpiece. What's up, my fam? First of all, happy Sunday. Second of all, happy birthday, Ansh Lamba. What? Yes, today is 3rd of August and today is my birthday. And where is my birthday wish? Where? I'm just waiting since the morning. And I was like, okay, now I will get the birthday wish. Now I will get the birthday wish. Now I will get the birthday wish. Where is my birthday wish? So just do it right now in the comment section or wherever you want. Yeah, I am a little baby from inside. So let me just tell you, I know that you have wished me. I know. And thank you so much for your wishes, for your blessings, and love you a lot from the depth of my heart. Really, I love you a lot. And you can see my love. See, today is my birthday and still I'm just sitting for you so that I can just provide you some knowledge so that you can just grow in your career, so that you can just get your dream job, dream offers, dream life, dream career, and so on, right? That's the love that I have earned, I would say, okay, from you. And that's the connection that I have built with you with the time. And yes, this is really precious to me. So that is why I do believe in love when it is from both the sides. And I know like it is from both the sides. So now, let's talk about today's video. Today's video is very special because I was thinking like, hey, I should drop something special on my birthday. And I was like, what is that topic that I should just post and blah, blah, blah. So I just ended up with this amazing topic, which is called Databricks Declarative Pipelines. We all know that Databricks is doing wonders in the world of data engineering. We all know that. And if you do not know this, now you know, and you should know this. See, I know all the other competitors are there. Okay, I don't want to take... Okay, Snowflake is there, all the, you can say competitors are there. I know that. But what do I feel? Databricks is actually making the efforts to revolutionizing the world of data engineering, and you have to agree with this. Because in this particular video, I will just give you some hints like how it is doing that. Yes, I do love Azure a lot, and Azure is also doing the same thing. That's why they both go hand in hand. And they also just say these things on their, you can say, annual summits. And these are the two players in the world of data engineering right now, which are actually making efforts for data engineers. And this is the fact. This is the fact. Recently, in the latest summit, Databricks actually changed a lot of things. Okay. And they launched something new as well. So I can say that Databricks platform was totally changed in the year of 2024. Now in 2025, and not just like 2025 May, or I think June, when they had like latest summit, they changed almost everything. Almost everything. Not like changed, I would say they improved a lot of things. Literally improved a lot of things. So in today's video, we're gonna master Databricks Declarative Pipelines and why it is so important and why I picked this topic on my birthday. Let me just tell you, Databricks Declarative Pipelines is the future. I know it is a very strong statement, but let me just tell you why. So recently, you would have heard about Delta Live tables in the past. If you have not heard about that, don't worry, let me just tell you. So there was a concept called Delta Live Tables. Okay. And that was a kind of revolutionary ETL framework which actually gained popularity exponentially. Okay. What happened after that? That was a big hit. Databricks knew that. So now they launched something called as Databricks Declarative Pipelines. Yes, which is built on top of Delta Live Tables, and it has introduced some changes, and I would say major changes, plus some amazing add-ons as well. Plus, I was just reading a blog or article, okay, and you can just also confirm this particular information. Databricks actually contributed Delta Live tables to Apache, which is Apache Spark basically. So I think now Delta Live tables is now the part of Apache Spark as well, indirectly. And this is really a big news because see, Apache Spark is everywhere. Apache Spark is everywhere, right? So if now that is being connected to Delta Live tables, even indirectly, you can just imagine the importance of this particular framework. Yes, in the previous years, PySpark, batch streaming, Spark streaming was really popular. But nowadays, I would say right from 2025 June, ETL frameworks, declarative frameworks will be the future, and you have to accept this fact. You have to accept this fact. So that is why I thought, hey, we have to cover this particular topic in detail. Yes, it is built on top of Delta Live tables. So do you need Delta Live table knowledge or any kind of experience? No, zero experience, because we gonna just talk about everything from scratch in the world of Databricks Declarative Pipelines. Everything from scratch. Do we need any kind of prerequisite to start with this video? Yes. Yes. You would need a little knowledge about Databricks, like what is Databricks, why do we use Databricks, what do we do with Databricks. And good news is, if you have watched my any of the videos in which I have used Databricks, either in the project videos or Databricks masterclass, Databricks full course, any video, if you have watched any of my Databricks videos, you can just kickstart with this particular video, which is called Databricks Declarative Pipelines. Or I would say, even if you have a very little knowledge about Databricks, still you can just start with this particular project, because we gonna talk about pipelines, declarative pipelines in Databricks. And this video gonna fun, and the best thing is we gonna cover modern architecture, which is just released in June 2025, just like few days back. And you can just imagine like how you can say how you can just put those things in your resume and how you can just highlight those skills, right? Because that's the only way to stand out in the crowd. Everyone writes, I know Databricks, but when you will be writing, I have developed a solution using declarative pipelines, interviewer will think like, hey, this is really a new architecture. And if this person is updated with this knowledge, that means this person is making efforts to learn new things. That makes the difference. Databricks is there for so many years, but you need to understand and learn modern things as well with the time. Databricks is changing every single month. So today, let's master Databricks Declarative Pipelines. And yes, I just talked about all the prerequisites, and if you have those prerequisites, let's get started. Make sense? And by the way, just hit the subscribe button right now. And today is my birthday, so I know you are also happy for my birthday, because I feel you, bro. I feel you. So now it's your responsibility to just shower your love on this video. Share this video with your friends, with your peers, with your all the colleagues, everyone, because this is the only video that is available for Databricks Declarative Pipelines, and the depth that we're gonna cover in this video is mind blowing. Okay. And plus, very small last statement. We're gonna use Databricks free edition. So you do not need any kind of Azure subscription. You do not need any kind of, you can say any subscription. Do not need any kind of, you can say business email. You can get started with your normal Gmail account, because Databricks free edition is very handy for all the learners. So we're gonna use Databricks free edition. So feel happy, bro, feel happy. So let's get started. First of all, Ansh, Lamba, just tell us declarative pipelines. Like, what are declarative pipelines? What exactly the concept is, and why it is so much in hype? Let me just tell you, declarative pipelines, okay, in Databricks are known as delta live tables. Delta live tables previously was totally different. Now we have a lot of things, so you can just treat it as, you can say, a new version of delta live tables. But yes, the popular word is still DLT because declarative pipelines is just launched few months back. But I am so sure with the course of time, declarative pipelines, or you can say Lakeflow declarative pipelines or Databricks declarative pipelines, will be the new popular word very soon. And yes, the underlying architecture is still delta live tables. Make sense? So these are modern way to build data pipelines using simple SQL or Python code. So if you already know about delta live tables, you can feel better. But even if you do not know about delta live tables, I will make you feel better. So let me just tell you what are delta live tables / declarative pipelines. Both are same. Okay, so I will be either using DLT, delta live tables, declarative pipelines, so you can just relate it with that thing. Basically, what are those things? You know, ETL pipelines, ETL and all those things. So obviously we can just create data pipelines, but traditionally we used to just configure each and everything. We need to say, hey, I want to load this data, I want to send this data, I want to transform this data, I want to monitor this data, I want to define all the quality checks, everything, right? But with this particular framework, you do not need to do all these things. Why? Because this is a kind of modern architecture in which we just need to use simple Python or SQL code, and everything, all the dependencies, all the transformations, all the flows will be taken care by DLT. Just basic Python or SQL code, that's it. Make sense? So you'll be thinking, hey, do we need Python or SQL like till advanced level? I would say no. Very basic Python or SQL code, very basic fundamental level knowledge is sufficient. Okay, and in this particular DLT, you do not need to manually orchestrate your work, or you can say manually create the dependencies or automate the flow. No, everything will be automated. Everything will be automated. Okay, plus there is a very common or very popular phrase for declarative pipelines, which says you just declare what you want and DLT takes care of how it should be done. So you just take care of what part and DLT will take care of how part. So you will just say, I want this, I want this, that's it. How it will be done will be taken care by DLT. That's the concept of declarative pipelines, or basically declarative framework, where you will just say, you will just declare, I want this. How it will be done, everything will be taken care by DLT, or you can say declarative pipelines. Okay, DLT is a common short word, so I will say DLT. So that is the whole concept. Now you'll be thinking, wow, it's actually revolutionizing. I told you. So now let's talk about the benefits, because obviously if it is in hype, if everyone is talking about, hey, you should learn DLT, hey, DLT is popular, hey, DLT is in demand, hey, in all the interviews we are getting asked questions regarding DLT, because there are so many benefits. Number one benefit is quality checks, because whenever you build a pipeline which goes to production, it should pass all the quality checks, because data is everything, right? And bad data can just break the entire flow. So benefits are like quality checks. First of all, quality checks. So basically we have built-in DDLT support, something called as expectations. What are expectations? Don't worry, we're going to talk about very much in detail about these things. For now, to understand the concept, basically these are kind of rules that we create on top of our flows, basically on top of our objects, so that it has to pass those rules in order to run the dependent activities. Otherwise it will fail right away. We have so many options: fail, warn, or notify, everything. We will talk about it, but these are kind of rules that you create as per your data, as per your you can say requirements, and all the objects have to follow these rules. So this is a kind of built-in checks that we have in DLT. Okay, so it is written that where you can define rules like this column should never be null. This is like very common rule, like not null, where we say, hey, I do not want this column to be null. So you just define the expectation for it. It is like self-explanatory expectations. You have some expectations from your objects to follow these rules. That's why it is called expectations. Make sense? Now, what if our object is not following the expectation? What will happen? DLT will drop it or send it to a quarantine, okay? And you do not have to write extra code to handle it data quality checks. Make sense? What will happen? So basically, let's say your object is not following your rule. Hey, I have bad data and I have nulls. What will happen? Now you will have the power. What kind of power? Power will be like, let's say you can either drop the record, or you can keep the record, but you will get the warning, or you can simply fail the entire flow. You have the power. And for that, you do not need to do anything. Literally, yeah, you just need to define what you want. DLT will take care of everything. I know this is really, really amazing. Told you, bro, told you. This is just like one benefit. Hold on, this is just one benefit, okay? Let's talk about the next benefit. It is called automatic dependency management. Now, my lovely data engineer, you know that whenever we create a you can say not DLT pipeline, like any pipeline, okay? Whenever we just create a pipeline, ETL pipeline, we have to set the dependencies, which is also called as DAG, directed acyclic graph, or you can say simple, if you do not know about DAG, it is just a fancy name for your ETL flow, how it should be running. Like this is the activity number 1, then it should run activity number 2, then it should run activity number 3. So there is a dependency management that you need to manage as a data engineer. Make sense? But with DLT, you do not need to do anything. Ansh, Lamba, how DLT will know that that activity 3 will be running after activity 2 and activity 2 will be running after activity 1? Will tell you, bro. Hold on. That's why I'm just telling you that this is the perfect guide, the complete guide. Okay, so it will take care of dependency management as well, like which task it should run first, then what, then what, then what, like the entire flow. The whole lineage will be taken care by Databricks. Make sense? Very good. Third benefit, incremental processing, which is the need of the hour, because we are living in the big data era where we have so much of data. So we cannot process the data every time. We have to process only and only new data. So Databricks Declarative Pipeline says, hey bro, I will just process data incrementally. You just sit back and relax. So yeah, which is also called as chain data capture. That means it will simply capture the new data. That's it. Make sense? Okay. I know you are really, really excited to just actually do the hands-on directly on these topics, but there is a flow. There is a, like, you can say a roadmap, like how you need to learn these things first, then what, then what, then what. Okay. And don't worry, I have literally created a notebook, okay, just for you. Notebook, not like Databricks notebook, like my rough notebook, where like I have just put like all the things, like how I just need to, by the way, it's not a rough notebook, it's a fair notebook. So I have just put all the things, like which thing I should just tell first, so that I can follow the exact roadmap for you, so that you can learn everything and will not miss anything. Okay. Next benefit. How many benefits do we have? A lot. The very, very, very popular benefit is unified batch and streaming. Basically, we know that within our solution, we have to write code for batch and streaming as well. We know that Spark structured streaming also provides this kind of ability to convert your code easily, because both work on the same APIs, batch and streaming and Spark structured streaming, but you still need to manage a lot of things in order to work with batch and streaming. But DLT says, I will just take care of it, everything. So you do not need to maintain anything separately. DLT will say, hey, you can use the same code for both. It detects whether your data source is streaming and handles it accordingly. Basically, you will simply write the same code, literally same code. And the way you create your object will define if you want to read your data incrementally, or basically in the streaming, or in the batches. Okay. Make sense? Now, I hope that you have a clear picture about DLT conceptually. I know, like, you got some vibe, like why it is so popular, because I genuinely talked about, you can say, very high level benefits that we have. When you will be actually writing the code for DLT, you will understand, oh, this is really, really insane. So now let's talk about how you can just create your Databricks free edition. And I know you would have already created Databricks free edition, I'm so sure, but let me just tell you if you have not created so far, because Databricks free edition is recently announced just few days back, I think in the month of June, like yeah, like last month. But you should know like how you can just create that. And the good news is you do not even need like work email. Forget about subscriptions, credit cards and all. You do not even need a work email. So I love Databricks. Like they are actually doing and making efforts for data engineers so that they can learn and grow. So what you need to do, simply go on any browser and simply search Databricks free edition. And then you can just click on any link. Okay, maybe this one, any link. Let me just click on the first one. So the thing is, when you just click on the first one, you will actually land on the direct page, but sometimes people click on the wrong link and they can maybe click on this one and they will see something else. And maybe let's say this one, that's it. This is the same. I just want to yeah, this one. So sometimes people click on this link and they think like, hey, how we can just do it, how we can just create it. So basically there are two things. Or maybe you can just click on any link, you will end up with this particular button, maybe try Databricks. So simply click on this try Databricks. Okay, and then you should just land on this page. Why? It totally depends like which URL is popping up in your search engine, right? So once you land on this page, that's your end goal. You need to just land on this page. Okay, once you land on this page, you do not need to click on this thing or this thing, because obviously this is also kind of free edition, but it is just for the limited period. After you can say spending all of your credits, you have to pay for it. But if in order to just use it for free, you need to simply say looking for Databricks free edition. Yes. So simply click here and then it will take you to the login page. Now you just need to log in with your normal Gmail account and click on continue. That's it. Once you do that, simply come on this page again, which is this one, and then click on the second link. Already have an account, login, because once you have created your account, you need to log in, right? Click on login and then it will simply say, hey, what account do you have? And simply put the same account with the with which you have just created your Databricks account. Okay, I will simply close all the tabs because I have simply opened it here. See, wow, this is my homepage of Databricks, and you will also see the same thing. There can be some changes. Maybe you would have set up some dark theme, or like it totally up to you, like how you have set up your theme and all. So this is basically the homepage, and obviously we are not going to discuss like what is this, what is that. We're gonna focus on Databricks Declarative Pipelines. But still, it's my birthday, so Ansh, Lamba, just give a quick overview so that they will be understanding, hey, this is the UI. Because obviously if you're coming from Databricks Community Edition, you will see a lot of things here instead of just few things. That is the power of Databricks Free Edition, because Databricks Free Edition means you can use almost everything, not everything, almost everything that you can use in your paid Databricks account, almost everything. Some things are restricted. Some, for example, you cannot actually access, you can access, but you cannot change anything in the meta store and all those things. And you do not actually need to worry about that thing. Okay, because we are focusing on Databricks Declarative Pipelines. One thing you can note, these things in most of the cases will be same, but sometimes you will say, hey, I cannot see this button. Hey, I cannot see this button. Hey, I cannot see this button. So click on new and simply pick here more. So you will see all the options here. Sometimes due to, you can say, screen resolution, you cannot see all the options. Simple, sorted, good. Now you have workspace, that we all know that workspace is just a kind of, you can say, a location where we just create our resources and store all the resources. Then recent tab is just a tab which shows you, hey, you have these resources that you have recently worked with. Then catalog, this is very important because this is a kind of area where you will be seeing all the catalogs, all the schemas, all the tables, all the views, all the volumes, everything. Everything. So this is a kind of, as the name suggests, this is a data catalog. Okay, everything is there. Then jobs and pipelines, this is the heart of this video. Jobs and pipelines, basically pipelines. Okay, because jobs is like a dedicated or different topic in itself. Yes, I will create a dedicated video on Databricks Lakeflow jobs as well, because there are so many upgrades and so many changes. So Don't worry at all. And if you need that video, just tell me in the comment section. I can just create a dedicated video on Databricks Lakeflow jobs as well. Okay, because obviously if you are becoming a Databricks data engineer, you need to understand everything. But today we are focusing on Databricks Declarative Pipelines. Then compute, you do not actually need to worry about compute. And let me just tell you one of the errors that is very popular. When you click on compute, you will see something called as SQL warehouse. Okay, and by default you will see this button which is 2xs, which is extra small, 2 extra small, and this is the compute that we use to work with all the SQL based workloads. Okay, and if we want to use PySpark or Python, we will be using something called as serverless compute, which is like, obviously this is all serverless, but that is a kind of serverless compute for all the PySpark coding. Okay, so now the thing is you cannot create a SQL warehouse, okay, new one, because obviously this is a free edition, so you are just using it for free, so you have to just use this. Second thing is, sometimes when you are aggressively using your cluster, let's say you are just watching this whole video in one go and you are just performing all the workloads in one go, sometimes you can see the error called as resources are exhausted and something like that, that your resources are exhausted, and it can be with SQL warehouse or it can be with your normal serverless compute for PySpark as well. In those scenarios, you do not need to panic. Simply wait for 30 minutes to 1 hour, maximum 1 hour, refresh your Databricks workspace, and then you will see your resources back. Because sometimes what happens, you are using free resources, right? Like free account. So obviously they cannot like dedicatedly put resources in your account. Yes, they are there, but sometimes when you are aggressively using it, they can be exhausted. So you need to give some time to them as well so that they can just restore the computation. Okay, so this is the thing, you do not need to panic. If you see that error, don't worry, I also see that error whenever I use this free edition. So if you see that error, just take a break. Okay, just eat something, just have a nice break, and then just restart it. Okay, sort it. Very good. So now this is the SQL warehouse. We do not need to start it. It will be automatically started when we need to do. Okay, so this is all about compute, and this is the area where we'll be just working right now, because we want to just create our some source tables so that we can just set up our source data so that we can just start working with pipelines. Okay, so this is everything about SQL, like SQL editor, queries, dashboard, Jenny, alerts, query history, SQL warehouse, everything is there. This is basically the area where you will be performing all the SQL workloads. Okay, good. Then you have data engineering, where you can see job runs. That means whatever jobs are running, a kind of monitoring tab they have created here. Okay, so you can simply click on it and you will see all the logs of their your jobs and everything. Okay, then you have data ingestion. You do not need to worry about that as well, so we'll be just talking about everything. Then we have AI and ML, which is just for like AI. If you are interested, you can just go with it and just play with it, experiment it, whatever you want to do. Okay, so this is all about a quick overview of Databricks. So now, in order to use latest UI, you need to do some things. Okay, first of all, click on your button. Which button? Your profile button. Click on it and you should see something called as previews. So for now, I'm not able to see previews. That is fine. Sometimes you see, sometimes you do not. So it is fine. If you see previews here, click on it and just enable all the previews. That is just for the safer side if you just want to enable all the previews. If you cannot see previews, it's fine. It's fine. Okay, so now you simply need to go to settings, and now after going to settings, you need to go to developer. Okay, so now here you have all the developer settings. Okay, so here you can see all the things, even the dark mode as well. If you just want to enable dark mode, you can just enable it from here. I can simply say dark mode and this will be enabled, as you can see. And this theme can be different in your case because I have picked a specific theme, and I think theme will also be here if you want to pick the same one that I have picked. So I can just show you. Yeah, so I have picked tomorrow's theme, which is light, editor theme light, and tomorrow we have so many options. Databricks default theme, I am not a big, so yeah, in the dark theme I have picked Atom 1 dark. I was thinking like I am not using tomorrow's theme, so I was like, let me just confirm. So I just refreshed the page and it was like Atom 1 dark. So I literally love this Atom 1 dark, and there are some good options as well, like let's say winter is coming is also good. Databricks default theme is also good. Basically you will not see the changes right away like here, When you will be just writing the code, then you see the changes, and we can obviously change the theme. And when we'll be just writing the code, I will just change it just to show you how you can just set up your theme, because with the theme you can actually feel good, right, whenever you just work with it. Okay, so that is one thing, you can just set up it if you want. Okay, so for now I have just picked atom 1 dark. You can also pick if you just want to. Then let's scroll down, and we need to enable something called as experimental features. So these are the features that are not actually generally available right now and will be available very, very soon. So with the Databricks Declarative Pipelines, so far we are using notebooks to create the Databricks Declarative Pipelines. But now for the future, and I would say you can say very soon, we gonna just shift to something called as code editor, Databricks code editor, basically file code editor, which is an amazing experience to work with Delta live tables. Amazing experience. So just scroll down and you will see something called as Lakeflow pipeline editor. So this is something called as purpose-built IDE for declarative data pipelines, designed to support everything you need for building pipelines in one place. Code first, authoring, folder-based organization, everything. I love this particular UI. So you can simply turn it on. Okay, so if it is turned off in your case like this, simply turn it on. Why this one? Basically, whenever you just want to work with multiple notebooks, so you cannot work it efficiently if this toggle is turned off. Why? Because every time you need to just create or basically open a different Databricks instance to just see the different notebook. But with this particular thing, with this particular toggle, you can actually create the tabs, like multiple tabs, like each tab for each notebook, and this is amazing. So simply turn it on. If you do not see these options, then obviously you need to go to previews if it is visible to you. Okay, sometime it is, sometime it is not. So if it is not visible to you, simply go to settings, and otherwise you have to go to the previews button, and then you have to enable it from here. Make sense? Earlier it was available like this previews button. So now maybe they have just consolidated everything in this particular thing, and maybe they have added all the features within this particular settings itself. So it's up to you. You can just scroll and explore a little bit. Okay, so that's all I would say. Nothing much. So let's go to Databricks homepage, and we can just pick dark or light theme. Not really a big thing. Okay, so now what we need to do? We need to set up our data source. Make sense? Let's set up our data source so that we can just say, hey, our data source is ready. Now let's try to work with it. Okay. So for now, let me just go to the SQL editor, or basically SQL warehouse as well. You can simply click on SQL warehouse, and this is the compute. You can turn it on from here as well, or it will be automatically turned on when you will be running the files. Okay. I will simply go to SQL editor for now. And this is basically the editor that I have opened for me, like this one. This is the query. If I click on it, it will simply open a kind of canvas. See, welcome to the new SQL editor. You now have access to features like multiple statement results, collaborative settings. See, they are literally adding so many features. So now this is a kind of SQL workspace for Databricks. Okay. Even before that, let me just show you something in the catalog tab. So let's go to catalog tab. First of all, you will see these kinds of catalogs. Okay. In your case, you will not see these two catalogs because these two are like already existing catalogs in my particular workspace. So if you want to create a new catalog, you can simply click on plus button and then click on create a catalog. You can simply pick any name literally. Sometime it will not be allowing you to pick that name. So just try to pick a different name. So I will simply say DLT Ansh. Okay, that is my catalog name, and I will simply say create. Okay, configure catalog, and then you can simply say all workspaces have access. Yes, just go with it. Simply grant, and I would say all account users. Yeah, and then this is fine. And let's say use catalog, or basically all privileges. Yeah. Now simply say grant and next. And then this is fine. We do not need to worry about tags. So this is the catalog that we have created. Within this, we have two schemas, default and information schema. Make sense? See? Wow. So this is the catalog that we have created. Okay. So within this catalog, we'll be creating schemas, different schemas and different objects. Make sense? Now, if I go to workspace, so these are the workspaces that I have. Basically data modeling, Delta Lake 4.0. I didn't delete it, but I can just create a new one, or I can delete these ones as well, because I think this one was for previous video and Delta Lake 4.0 was for different video, but that is fine. That is fine. So now let's create a new catalog. So I will simply say create, and then I will simply say folder. So this is basically the location where we'll be storing all the objects, all the notebooks, all the files, everything. I will simply say declarative pipelines. Okay, this is the folder that I want to create. So this is the folder. Within this, you can click on create and you can literally create anything, notebook, file, query, and everything. But don't worry about it. We're gonna create everything with the declarative pipelines itself. Okay. So now what we're gonna do, we will simply go to catalog, and now we will create a schema. So simply click on your catalog and click on this create schema. So let's create a schema called source, because obviously we are setting up our source. So we should have a source schema where we'll be having all the source objects. So do not put any kind of storage location. Simply click on create. That's it. So this is our source that we have created. And within this, we can create table, views, like literally anything, volumes, literally anything. So for now, I want to create a table. Let's say, okay, I can simply click on it and I can just submit the files. If I want to create a table like this, but I literally do not want to create a table using files, I will simply go to, first of all, let me just cancel it. Where's the back button? Yeah. So what I want to do, I want to create tables, yes, within the source, but not using files. I want to use SQL. Now I will go to SQL editor. Okay. And this is my query. And first of all, let me just rename it. I will simply say source and then whatever the table name is. Let's say this is something called as source orders. Okay, let's say. So now within this, I can create a source orders table. Okay. For better efficiency for your code, always pick the catalog from here, like let's say workspace. So click on this workspace and pick DLT Ansh, whatever the catalog name is, and schema. Schema, we do not have any kind of schema. So let's first of all create the schema. You can either create schema using code, or you can go to catalog. Okay, go to DLT Ansh, and this is the schema, which is source, right? So we have already created it, right? Oh, that's good. Now go to SQL editor and let's pick schema, which is source. Okay, why it is not coming? I don't know. So let me say DLT Ansh and schema is source. Yes. Maybe we need to just refresh it. Yeah, sometime we need to just refresh it so that it can be synced up. So let me refresh it, because we have schema, see, source. So it should pick it up. So let's refresh it. And now let's try one more time. Yeah, now it has. Sometime it is not refreshed and synced up. So now, perfect. Now let's say I want to create a table like this. Create table, and I will simply say orders. If you do not pick these things, then you have to write something like this every time, which says DLT Ansh dot source dot order. So it actually requires a lot of time. Now you can simply say orders, because it will automatically fill these information. Okay, so orders, and now you can simply define the schema. So if you have observed one thing, let me just click on this button so that I have more space. So let's say I have something called as order ID. Okay, and obviously this is int. Then let's say I have order date. So why I am able to see this particular code suggestion with the help of this AI, which is code assistant. So it helps to just complete your code, and I love this feature. Okay, it saves a lot of time, especially if you are learning. So it saves a lot of time. So you can see order ID, order date, order customer ID, or I can simply say customer ID, it's fine. And then order status. Let's say these are the 4 columns, and this is literally fine. Okay, this is the table. Then what I will do, I will simply add a colon, and then I will simply say insert into. Now this feature was not available before, because we were not able to just run multiple commands within one SQL file, but now we are able to do that. Okay, so now this is basically the SQL orders query. Okay, makes sense. So now what we're gonna do, we will simply say insert into orders and then values. Okay, it is already suggesting me a lot of things. Okay, that's fine. Okay, okay, let's feed more values. Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. Okay, 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 one more, yeah, perfect. So let's run this. And by the way, let me show you one more thing. If you do not want to use this auto completion, okay, so you can just click on, let me just click on duplicate. So now if you do not want to use this particular, you can say AI thing, so that you can just write your own code, so you can actually turn it off. It's your choice. So what I can do, I can simply go to workspace from here or from here as well, this folder, and you can see that I have this particular folder, declarative pipelines, and this is empty, right? So let me just create a kind of notebook within this. Okay, so this is a kind of notebook that we have created with the help of, you can say, new UI. So if you want to just, let's say, configure any kind of new property or literally anything, you can just do with the help of this. Okay, so now let me just collapse it and click on table of content. This is fine. Okay, so now within this, simply go to file. I think it is in the file or maybe in the edit. Let me just search. Upload files. No. Create default. Maybe not in the view. Python. Simply go to view and then click on developer settings, because they keep on changing this particular option, so we have to just find it every time. Simply go to developer settings, and here you will see Databricks advisor. So if you just want to turn it off, if you just, let's say, want to write everything on your own, you can simply turn it off and it will work. But I want to just use this. Okay, so I'm good. So now one more thing, if you just want to change the editor theme, see, now let's say I want to use this theme. So if I just go back here and if I just refresh it, it will just change the theme. And see, now I'm seeing this particular color palette and it is also good. I love this. And if you just want to use Atom 1 Dark, you can just use that as well. Okay, so this is like one of the most popular themes that we have, and Databricks has just involved only the popular themes. So it's your choice. If you just want to use Atom 1 Dark, you can just use it by going here, or you can just pick any one as per your choice. So Atom 1 Dark and Dracula both are good. So it's up to you, because when you just set up these things, you actually feel the vibe, and when you just feel the vibe, you can actually, you can say, work better, right? So yeah, that's all. So let me just pick the previous one. Previous one was good. This one, perfect. So this is a command that we have created, and let's run this command so that we can just create the tables. Okay, so let me say run table, and let's have some space. Perfect. So let's say run all. So it will simply say you need to just turn it on. You do not have an available SQL warehouse. Notebook can be attached. Please go to SQL warehouse. Simply go to SQL warehouse. Wow. And you need to simply turn it on. So you have two options. You can either start beforehand, or you can simply go here and then you can just turn it on. It do not take much time. See, it is on. Now you can simply say run all, and you would need to attach it maybe. See. Okay, perfect. Now you can simply say run all. So this command is being executed, statement 0 of 1. So this is basically a kind of query that we have created, and within Databricks we have two options. We can either save our code in the form of SQL file or in the form of SQL query. Both have different advantages. So yeah, so this is done. Now let's say I want to see the data. So I can simply run my normal SQL command. I will simply say select asterisk from orders, and yes, I have this option to just select it and run, which was not there before. So now this is my data. Basically this is my source that I want to just use. Make sense? Very good. So this is the order, basically orders table. Okay, makes sense. So now if you see like where this source query is saved, okay, where this source query is saved, do you know this? It is actually saved in the root directory of my account, but I do not want to do that. So I will simply click on these three dots and I will click on move, and then I will move it inside this particular folder. Okay, click on move. Perfect. So now it is actually saved here in my Databricks main folder that I want to use for my this particular video. Okay, and I can even delete this particular notebook because I do not want to use it. I'll simply say move to trash. Perfect. So now within this particular parent directory, let me just take you to the workspace just to show you the folder structure, because this is important. If you just go to the data declarative pipelines, okay, so now within this we can store a lot of things, queries. See, this is a query, notebook, files, everything. But in order to work with declarative pipelines, basically DLT, we should dedicatedly create a folder which will be treated as a, you can say, dedicated directory for your all the source code. Yes, there are so many things that we have within declarative pipelines, like what are the root folder, what are source code. Let's talk about it right now. So let me just create a folder because our source is also set up. So let's say I want to create a folder called DLT. Okay, simple. Let's create it. And this is empty. Okay, so now what we need to do, simply go to your jobs and pipelines. Okay, so here you will see something called as create, or you can simply click on this as well, but simply click on create and then pick ETL pipeline. So this is the interface which is newly introduced because you turned on the toggle. If you see a different interface, then you have to use the new interface that we have just talked about in the beginning of this video, how you can just turn it on, like just go to developer settings and everything. Make sense? So now what is this thing? Let me just tell you. And this is really important. Trust me. First of all, you have something called as start with sample code in SQL, start with sample code in Python. That is fine because this will simply give us the sample thing. Okay. Then we have advanced options, start with an empty file or add existing assets. We only use this particular button when you already created the Delta Live table source code and now you want to attach it. But obviously we do not have anything. So I will simply say start with the sample code in Python. But before that, you need to pick a catalog. So I will simply say DLT Ansh, and this is the schema. So now in our case, we have already created this source schema, but this schema is just for the source. For DLT, we need to create a new schema because all the DLT objects will be there, right? I will simply say create schema and I will simply say DLT schema. Make sense? Perfect. DLT schema. Click on create. So now you can click on create, or start with sample code in Python because we will be using Python. Yes, you can use SQL as well, but Python with Python, I think you can actually understand the concepts better. And don't worry, I will just show you SQL as well. So do not need to worry. Okay. And you can simply say Lakeflow pipelines editor on. You can turn it off as well. If you turn it off, you will not be able to see the new UI, the better UI and more structured UI. And I love this new UI, so I will keep it on. And then I will simply say start with a sample code in Python. What will happen? Click on it and just wait for a few seconds. And this is your canvas. Do not need to worry. Let me just tell you each and everything, because I know if you are seeing it for first time, you will say, hey, what are these things? So this is an amazing UI. So first of all, let's click on this particular. So these are some of the arrows that it is saying, hey, define your pipeline, visualize results, everything. Okay, one by one, let's talk about everything. So basically this is the area which is called, I think there's a technical name. Let me just use all those things so that you can just take notes, and I hope you are taking notes. Okay, so this thing is called something called asset, but I want to use the right name so that you can understand it. Yeah, it is called pipeline asset browser, or you can say assets browser, where you have all the assets. Make sense? What are the assets? We will be just talking about, don't worry. So now, first of all, let's talk about this particular parent, which is called new pipeline. So do you know what actually happened? It created a kind of root folder for us. Okay, with any, you can say different name. Okay, so in order to change it, you first of all need to click on these three dots, and then you need to click on move root folder, because you need to move this folder into the desired, you can say repository, not directory, not repository, directory. You can say, Ansh, Lamba, what is a big deal? Because we can complete the code and then later on we can copy and paste. never do that. Why? Because it is recommended by Databricks. If you want to touch anything in this assets browser, you should do it from the assets browser itself. Do not change, copy, paste, move things outside the browser, because it will not be synced up. If it is not synced up, it will break. Okay, so you should do everything from the assets browser itself. Simply click on move root folder, and I want to move this root folder to my workspace. And then where is that for you? I think, yeah, here it is. So I want to move this particular root folder, maybe let's say here. Okay, so now this is moved to my declarative pipelines root folder, and now I will simply rename it. I will simply go here and rename root folder. So we already created root folder. Just ignore that because we will be just using this one. Simply say DLT root. Okay, DLT root folder. And we already have a DLT folder, and let's use this one because I want to just do all the things from the assets browser itself. So you can just simply ignore that particular df root, or basically DLT folder that we created. Okay, makes sense? Good. So now let's talk about the root folder. First of all, root folder is the folder in which you have basically two things: source code and non-source code. Okay, what is source code? Basically, source code is the folder which is stored inside the root folder, and that source code will be responsible for your code. So for example, let's say you built your code. Okay, and within the new UI, you can actually create different files, like say 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say you have 20 files for your DLT pipeline. Okay, whenever you will be running this pipeline, all the files will be running inside this transformations folder, because this is a source code folder. This is what? This is a source code folder. Ansh, Lamba, can we rename this folder? Let's say I want to rename it as, let's say, source code itself instead of transformations. Yes, you can do it, but you need to just change the configuration that source code is the source code folder. For example, or let's say your name, let's say Ansh. Okay, you want to just rename it as Ansh. So you can change it. Yes. Now you need to tell DLT that, hey, this is my source code, because source code will be always running whenever you will be building your DLT pipeline or refreshing your DLT pipeline. Yes, you can create multiple subfolders within this. We will be just doing that. And there is no limit of hierarchical structure. You can create as many folders as you want, but source code folder will be at the scope. That means this is my scope. Whenever I'll be running this DLT pipeline, run everything within this. Everything. All the subfolders, all the files, everything. Ansh, Lamba, what about dependency, DAG, lineage? Everything will be covered automatically, okay, and taken care by DLT, and we're gonna talk about that as well. Don't worry. But this is really important, source code. But okay, this is source code. So why do we have these things? Why do we have these things? Explorations, and what are these things? Basically, explorations are non-source code files, or basically non-source code folder. Basically, this is not a source code. This is not actually building our DLT pipeline. This is there for our exploration. Let's say you are building your DLT pipeline, okay, and you want to explore something. In order to explore it, obviously you are using notebook. Let's say you want to see some data, you want to display some data, you want to do something else. Then you create a folder called explorations. Again, name can be different. This is just a naming convention that is provided by Databricks. Okay, so now this particular notebook is actually out of scope. This has zero role to play to create your DLT pipeline, but it is there. Why? Because you can just explore it quickly. Let's say you want to see, hey, what is the source and how it is looking? Hey, you do not need to create a new notebook, sudo notebook every time. It is there, but it is not source code. Make sense? Okay, very good. Then what are these utilities? Basically, utilities are some additional libraries, modules that you want to create. We are not going to create any additional modules or any kind of wheel file. So this is fine. You can simply ignore it. But yes, this is also a part of non-source code file. This will also not be running. The major thing is this transformations. Make sense? Okay. Let me just tell you how you can configure it. If you just want to, let's say, change it, let's say you want to rename it. I want to say, let's say, transformations source code. Let's say I want to write like this. Okay, so that it makes more sense. Okay, makes sense. Source code. Okay, like this. Okay, so now you want to, so basically I made the changes from the asset browser itself, so it will be automatically synced, but you can just have a look like where it got changed. Okay, so I can simply show you, I think it is in the settings. Then you will see root folder is this one and source code is this one. So it has automatically renamed it here as well because I made changes directly from the assets browser. Make sense? Okay, let's say you want to create another folder within this. Let's say you want to create a folder demo. Let's say demo. Okay, just demo, just create it. Okay, and you want to create something else within this, we will be creating it. Okay, don't worry. And let me just first of all delete these things, move to trash and move to trash because we do not want to use the existing ones. We will be creating a new one, but I always go with, you can say, samples. Why? Because I really like this structure. Otherwise you have to create this structure on your own, but I love this structure, so I just go with that one. So let's say now you want to create multiple files here within this directory. Okay, and obviously there can be so many folders, demo, and let's say demo 2. Bro, this is very important. Okay, do not think like, hey, we are not writing any code, hey, what is this? When you will be getting questions in interviews, you will say, oh, okay, because it is not like always about coding. Understand the concept. So this is, let's say, demo 2. Okay, I created within this one. So let me just move to trash. I want to create folder at this level. Create folder, let's say demo 2. Now, obviously in demo 1 and demo 2, you can have the files, different files. You just want to treat demo as your source code and demo 2 not as a source code. So I can even do that as well. So by default, when I picked my source code at this scope, so everything within that will become my source code, but I can narrow down the scope. I will simply say settings. I will simply click on configure path and I will simply say, hey, I want to pick this as my source code, select and then save. So you will observe one thing. What is that? This particular pipeline icon is removed from here because this is not my source code now. Why it is removed from here as well? Because this entire folder is not my source code, only this is my source code. So this is again a kind of quick interview question. Whenever you see a kind of small icon, that is your source code, that is the identification. Okay, very good, but I want to keep the entire folder as my source code because that is a good practice. So I will simply go and configure it again. Okay, select and we have the icon back. Very good. So this was all about source code and source code folder. Okay, and by the way, this is not required. Demo, let's say move to trash. Okay, perfect. So let me see if I just want to cover anything in the structure. Source code done, source code file done, everything is done. Perfect. Now this was all about your UI. Okay, and especially for assets browser, it is very important. Now this is the canvas where you will be writing your code. Okay, where you will be writing your code, and this is the area where you'll be creating Python files or SQL files. Yes, you can even create notebook, but it is not recommended because files work better than notebooks, and it is really important to work with files whenever you are just going with Delta Live tables after June 2025. Okay, good. So first of all, this is the area, we know that. Then this is the area where you'll be seeing the graph. Wow, and this looks amazing. Okay, this looks amazing. Here we'll be seeing all the lineage, how our activities are, like tasks are being dependent on others, so everything will be here. Then this is the area where we have all the things like what are the results, hey, is there any error, hey, is there any something that we missed, everything is there. Okay, good. Now without wasting any time, let me just rename this particular DLT pipeline and I will simply say DLT, you can say tutorial. Okay, DLT tutorial. This is the name of the entire pipeline. Okay, this is the name of the entire pipeline that we have. Then let's create our first file and I will simply put it in the demo. Okay. So I will simply create, not demo, I think tutorial word is better. So let's say tutorial. Yeah, tutorial. Yeah, tutorial. Because I was thinking like I will be creating Medallion Architecture bronze, silver and gold. Okay, makes sense. I will just comment it out. Not a big deal. So I'll simply say tutorial. Okay, so this is our folder and let's create our first file. Click on these three dots and click on create file. So this is the file. So you can either create Python file or SQL file. Let's create with Python file first of all. Okay, and I will simply name it as, let's say, 1 and components. Let's say components. Okay, or let's say 1, and don't worry, I will just provide all these things, all these Python files. Most probably, yeah, I will just provide all the Python files and all these things in my GitHub repository. So enjoy. So this is like 1, and let's start with, let's say, stream table. Okay, let's start with our components. Dataset type, it is fine. We can obviously select this thing, but we do not need to worry about that thing. We will simply say create. So this is the first file that we have created, and let me just have some space here. Perfect. And I can even click on this if I want more space here. Perfect. So now this is the file, and now we are all set to create our DLT objects. So basically we have 3 major components in DLT. So let's quickly talk about some concepts, or you can say conceptual terms or conceptual knowledge regarding key concepts of delta live tables, or basically DLT or declarative pipelines. Obviously we're gonna just see everything in code, but let's just quick, you can say, introduction. So the first thing that we have is called streaming table. Okay, now what is a kind of streaming table? So this is a kind of table which deals with streaming data. Okay, what is streaming data? Very simple. Let's say you have a kind of source. Okay, you have a source. Now in this particular source, let's write it here. Now in this particular source, let's say you got this data on day 1. Okay, now this particular data will be traveling to a destination. Okay, makes sense. So you want to process this data as soon as the data arrived here. Okay, then on the next day it got some, let's say, another data file or another data. Okay, now instead of processing both the files, it will only process only and only this new file, this one, because streaming data handles incremental data ingestion as well. Make sense? And streaming data is like, just like you can say, you are running your data ingestion process in micro batches, maybe let's say in milliseconds, in seconds. So that's the difference between your streaming data and your normal batch processing. Make sense? Make sense? Make sense? Make sense? Because streaming actually helps you to work with, you can say, incremental data ingestion. You do not need to actually worry about, hey, how I will just load only this data and not about this data, not other data. So that's the power of streaming tables within Delta Live tables. Let me just tell you, that's a good news. You do not need to manage anything. If you are aware of Spark structured streaming, you would say, hey, Spark structured streaming is already very good and we can just actually use a lot of things and we can actually, you can say, leverage a lot of things. Yes, I would say Delta Live tables, streaming table are much more powerful than your streaming table in Spark structured streaming. Yes, it is built on top of that, but it has a lot of new features. Plus, I would say it is even better than your autoloader. So you can just imagine the power. Okay, we will be seeing everything within the code as well. So now the next thing we have materialized view. This is a concept which is very popular in the SQL world, materialized view. So before talking about materialized view, let's talk about view. What is a view? View is basically the query that we have created. That's it. But materialized view has a special feature of storing the result of the query. Let's say you ran the query. Let's say this is your query. Select asterisk from table. Okay, perfect. This is your query. So every time this query will be running, it will create the output, some output, and this output will be stored, let's say, in a table, because this is materialized, so it needs to be stored somewhere. So this will be stored somewhere, and that is why it is called materialized view. So it is not just a query, it is the result of the query stored in a destination. Make sense? The third thing is views. Views are like just normal views, because views are views. Views means you do not need to store the results, you just need to store the query itself. That's it, just the query. But yes, in the world of Delta Live tables, we have two different kinds of views. One is called batch views and one is streaming views. Okay, don't worry at all. This was just, you can say, a kind of high level introduction of these concepts, so that you can just take notes and you can just put a placeholder for your notes. Now let's see everything within the Databricks. Let me just show you step by step. Three major components. Let me just show you, if I can just say DLT components. Let me just tell you, don't worry, because obviously you will be confused after reading the documentation. So first of all, what is the most popular, or you can say the best, all are the best, but yeah, I would say this is one of the most popular, you can say, components of DLT. It is called streaming table. Okay, it is called streaming table. So if you want to create a streaming table with the help of Delta Live table, you can create it like this. Okay, and this is one of the components, basically the object that you can create with DLT. Okay, let me just show you how you can just do that. So I will simply say hashtag. Basically we are using Python file, so obviously all the Python operations, everything will be used here. So I will simply say hashtag creating streaming table. Okay, creating streaming table. Okay, so now what I can do, I will simply say @DLT, and even before that I need to, I think, import DLT. Okay, import DLT. So now what I will do, I will simply use a decorator. I should, I think, turn off this AI assistant. Really? Sometimes it is helpful. Is there any option to mute it from here? Because in the code editors we just get the snooze button, and that is very helpful, the snooze button. Let me just check. Oh, it is fine, don't worry, because it is always good to have some things. So I will simply say creating, or create streaming table. So basically, in order to create a streaming table, we have something called as a decorator, which is called DLT.table. If you do not know about decorator, you should always go with clearing your Python concepts, because decorator is something which takes your function and decorates it. That is why it is called decorator. It can do anything, and obviously in our case it will take our function and it will just use it in a different function that it has written for us. That is why it is called declarative architecture, declarative framework. We do not need to worry about anything. Delta Live will be taking care of everything. I will simply say DLT.table. Why? Because I am creating a streaming table. Make sense? So I will simply say DLT.table, and then I will simply say name. What will be the name of my table? I will simply say, let's say, first streaming table or first stream table. Make sense? So this is it. Now I want to create a function which will create this table, or basically what will be the data going inside this table. I will simply say def, and let's say first stream table. Ansh Lamba. Ji sir, do we need to keep this name same as this one? Ideally, yes. Under the best practices, yes, but it's not mandatory. The thing is, by the way, this option is not also mandatory. Let's say I will remove this. If I remove this, whatever name I will provide here, it will take it as my table name. So it's your choice. If you just want to put table name directly in the function, you can. Otherwise, I will say it is always a good practice to provide the name here and keep the function name same to avoid any kind of confusions. Okay. Within this, what I will do, I will create a data frame. I will simply say spark dot read stream. Now why read stream? Because I want to create a streaming table. I want to create what? Streaming table. Okay. I will simply say read stream dot format. Then I will simply say, hey, what is the format? Basically, I do not want to worry about format. I will simply say table, because I have the table ready as my source, right? So now what is the source of that table? Source is very simple. We all know that we have the catalog DLT Ansh, then we have schema source, then we have table, I think orders. Simple. This is my source. And we all know that whenever we create any kind of staging step where we are simply loading the data, we simply return as it is. I will simply say return df. Make sense? This is it. What? So now what DLT will do, it will simply take this data frame, which is a streaming data set, basically data frame, and then it will return this data frame, and this data will go here in this decorator, and this will create the streaming table for us. We do not need to worry about anything. That is the power of DLT. It will create a streaming table automatically. Okay. If you want to run this, I will simply say run pipeline, or you have two options, dry run. Always go with dry run. What dry run does, it will not directly run your pipeline, but it will show you, hey, this is something that you can expect if you run this. So I will simply go with dry run just to see the DAG. Click on dry run, and you can click on this particular pipeline graph, because here it will build the pipeline graph for me. Oh man, this is so good. I literally like this glowy, you can say, touch that Databricks has provided, and obviously this dark theme. So it will simply prepare the graph for us. Okay. And it should not take much time, but it totally depends, like, because if we are initializing our first file, then yes, it takes a little bit more time, but after that it will be very smooth. So this will show us the graph. And what is the graph according to you? What should be the graph? Graph is very simple. Only one object, which is first streaming table. That's it. Make sense? Okay, very good. So now let's see how our graph will look like. Okay, and we can even click on maximize so that it can just come on the full screen. Let me click on it, and this is the graph. See, this is my object, which is saying streaming table. That's what we have created. Streaming table. Wow, simple. It has literally created streaming table for us. Not created, because we didn't run the pipeline. We simply clicked on dry run. Make sense? Very good. Very good. Let me click on turn off this toggle just to have my notebook back. Not notebook, file. Okay. So now this is it. Make sense? And I need this space. It's fine. Okay. So let me just collapse this as well. Yeah, this is fine. If we just want to add more files, we can simply open it, otherwise close it. Perfect. So now this was all about streaming table. Okay. Now this was like stream processing. What if we want to perform the batch processing? How we can just do that? Okay. For batch processing, we have something called as materialized views. So let me just show you how you can just create the materialized views, which is the second type of object, or basically second component we have within the Delta Live tables. Make sense? Very good. It is called materialized views. I hope you are taking notes. Materialized views. Materialized views means your data query, the output of your data query will be stored, will be materialized. It will not be just like a view in the air. No, it will be materialized view. That means the result of the query will be stored somewhere. Okay, let's create a materialized view on the same source. This is the power of DLT. See, this is the source, which is called DLT Ansh source orders. Same table. I can create a streaming table on top of it, or even I can create a materialized, that means a kind of normal batch table on top of it as well. That is the power of DLT. Same source, different operations. And what you are doing? Nothing. Let me just show you, bro. I will simply say create materialized view. Everything is same. So first of all, I'll simply say dlt.table, because I want to store it as a table, basically materialized view. Okay. I will simply say name equals first mat view. Okay. Then I will simply say df and then first mat view. Okay, perfect. Now I'll simply say df equals spark dot read, not read stream. Why? Dot read dot table, because I want to create a batch table. That is the only difference you need to make in your code. That's it. If you just want to use it as a stream, use stream. If you just want to use it as a normal batch table, simple read. That's it. And let me just provide, yes, this is the source, and I will simply say return df. Make sense? Okay, perfect. This is it. Let me just click on dry run, and this time you will see a mat view as well along with streaming table here. Okay, graph is unavailable. Why? Something is wrong. Let's see. So this is the thing. When it fails, it will simply tell you the error here, and it is simply saying this table cannot be found, and obviously we do not have this table. Who wrote this table, bro? See, I just clicked on the suggestion and see, it is source.orders, bro. But I am glad this error came, because you can see that here is the area where you will be seeing all the errors. Okay, then I'll simply say dry run for one more time, and this time this should work. Okay, sorted. Perfect. So this is my mat view, and this is my streaming table. Now just tell me one thing, very basic question, very normal basic IQ question. Why we are seeing these two objects in parallel? Why? Because there is no dependency on each other, right? This can run independently, this can run independently. Make sense? So far we do not have any kind of dependency. Don't worry, I will create the dependency as well, but I'm just showing you all the objects first of all, because you need to have a strong concepts, you can say strong understanding of the concepts, like the core components. Okay, core components. Okay, very good. Wow. Let's create another component, which is the third component, and you can guess it. It is called create view, normal view. It is not any kind of materialized. It is not stored anywhere. It is just like a normal view which holds the query only. Okay, and you know what? We can also create two different kinds of views. Not like mat view. Obviously, mat view is different. Your batch view and streaming view. Literally, you can create two different types of views. So let's create batch view first of all. Okay, and how you can just create that? You can simply use dlt.view instead of table, because this is not stored anywhere. I will simply say name equals first batch view. That is fine. Then I will simply say def, and then first batch view and read.table. Perfect. So this time we will simply say create a view, basically which view? Batch, and for batch we simply use read. That's it. And in order to create streaming view, you can simply say create streaming view. Okay, and then I will simply say @dlt.view, my first stream view, and this is the thing. Okay, and this time we'll simply use read stream. Why? Because you want to create a streaming view, right? And then simply return df. Simple. That's it. That's it. And you can simply click on dry run just to see like what happens, and you will literally see all the two other objects as well along with these two. Perfect. Let me maximize it. So these are the four objects that we have created so far. See, these are the four objects: first mat view, first streaming view, first batch view, first stream view. Wow, literally wow. So these are the four different things. If I click on any independent thing, like let's say this one, I will see some detailed logs as well. See, all these things: duration, return, expectation, dropped, warning, failed. Everything is null because we actually didn't run it. We simply dry run it. Okay, good. Now this was all about, you can say, core components, when you create the components, and I can simply rename it. Let's say core components. Okay, and don't worry, you will get these notebooks on my GitHub repository. Just enjoy. Just enjoy. So okay, this was all about core components. Let's create a new file. Okay, and I want to create a new file, and within this file I want to, first of all, let's click on this and then create file. Within this I want to create a second file which will be a kind of dependency. Okay, dependency makes sense. Click on create. So now what we gonna do? let's see an end-to-end example, very basic example, because that's how you grow. Okay, you do not need to just build production ready pipeline in one go. Let's build a simple, you can say, pipeline. So what we're going to do in this, creating an end to end basic pipeline. Okay, so what we're going to do in this particular pipeline, we will be using a source. Okay, and then we will be just transforming it, and then we'll be storing that source as our end table. Simple, you can say, flow, simple flow. For that, what we're going to do, obviously we'll import DLT. Okay, so now this is our thing, and let me not use hashtag, let's say these 3 dots. Okay, perfect. Now it looks good. So now, first of all, we will create the staging area, or basically, yeah, staging area. So I'll simply say staging area. Okay, makes sense. Should I just show you some of the things, or you can say difference between streaming? I think you already know, like I already discussed, but let's confirm it for one more time so that you can just understand the concepts better. So let me just tell you one thing. Click on this, expand. Okay. Okay, perfect. So now let's discuss first of all these two things, materialized views and streaming table. So if you create or let's say this is a source. Okay, this is a source. If you create the materialized view on top of it, okay, let's say this has only this data, let's say this data for one day. Okay, and if you create streaming table on top of it, how it will behave in both the scenarios. Okay, let me use a different one, pink color. Okay, like this. Okay, so this is day one data. This is our current scenario where we have just data for few orders. Okay, so in both the cases, I will see basically see the same behavior. Both table will read, let's say 10 records, in which we have just 10 records. Okay, in this we have just 10 records, let's say 10. Then let's say on the next day, I got 15 more records. What will happen? Do you know? This is a batch processing. So this will simply read 25 records. Yes, because this is not a streaming. This will read 25 records every time from the source. Oh, okay. But the streaming table will only read 15 records because this is a streaming table. This will only and only read this particular new data only. Okay, let's verify this and then we will be going further. Okay, because this is the fundamental knowledge that you should have. So in order to confirm this, obviously we need to simply click on run pipeline so that we can simply create the objects, and you will actually see how many records it is writing and how many records it is actually, you can say, updating everything. Okay, so this is running fine. And once it is done, we will add more records in our source and then you will see the behavior. Okay, perfect. So this is running. All are running, I guess. Yes. Okay, I can expand the view. Okay, this is done. So far initially we have just 5 records. So it output 5 records. It output 5 records. This will not output any data because these are views. These are not like stored data. Okay, this is done. And you can literally see this data. Okay, let me just show you. If I go here in my catalog, if I go to DLT Ansh in my DLT schema, see, these are the two things, first mat view and first streaming table. Wow, this is literally amazing. Yes. So these are your material, stored data. Make sense? Okay, very good. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna add some more data in the source. So let's go inside the SQL editor and let's insert more data. So this is our command for insert command. So let me just comment it out. Why? Because we will be inserting more data. And let me just add a comment. Inserting more data. Okay. Okay, insert value, see 6, 7, and let's say we added 2 more records. Make sense? Let's say run all. start, attach and run. So it will simply attach it and run it. By the way, it's always a good practice if you are not using SQL Warehouse, just turn it off. So I forgot to turn it off because it will consume the resources and it will be exhausted, and then you need to just wait for 30 minutes, 60 minutes. So create table cannot, this is this, oh, okay. So I literally ran the whole thing, which we do not need to do. We simply need to run only this command. I thought I commented out everything, but I didn't. Okay, so it will now insert these records here. Okay, now 2 records are inserted. Now if I simply run pipeline for one more time, you will see the difference because we have new data in the source, and it will read 7 records, and it will read only, basically it will just process 7 records. It will process only 2 records because this is a streaming table and this is the batch materialized view. See, output records 2. Okay, and this will output, you can say, what is this, incremental 7. See, so now materialized view will read all the data every time. So if you want that behavior, you can simply go with mat view. If you just want to just create a kind of incremental data, you can just go with streaming table. Yes, with the latest upgrades, I think last month, they involved something called as we can even read incremental data with materialized view. That's why I think this is the thing. Let me just click on this. Let's see what happens. This event is associated with this one, materialized view pipeline event log details for the has been planned in DLT to be executed as append only, blah blah blah. Okay, so very good. Now if I click on any of the things, let's say mat view, let's say this one, let's click on this one. First of all, you will see the logs. This is the data that you will be seeing as the output. Okay, because this is the data. I have clicked the data tab. Then if I just click on columns, these are the columns. If I click on table matrix, these are the matrix. Time, return, expectation dropped. Obviously this is null because we have not set up the expectations for now, but that is fine. Then performance, these are the performance, like how long it took and blah blah blah. Makes sense? And same with this as well. Same with this as well. Okay, columns and then table and then everything. Make sense? Okay, very good. Now this is sorted because I wanted to just provide you this information because this is really, really important. Okay, very good. Now let's create a dependency pipeline, basically end-to-end pipeline, and how we can just create that. Basically, in order to do that, let me just click on this. And this is our pipeline where we are creating all the things. Okay. And yes, perfect. So here, what are we gonna do? Within this, I want to create a kind of flow in which I'll be using my source. Okay, I'll be using my source, and then I will be doing something else with that. What does it mean? So basically, let's say I have orders table. Okay, that is my source. I want to read, let's say, incremental data every time. I don't want to read all the data. So I will simply create a streaming table. For the staging area, I will simply say @DLT.table. Okay, and I will simply name it as, where are my suggestions, bro? Now I need. Okay, this will be my staging. Okay, staging orders. Make sense? Then I will simply say staging area, and do not write return directly. Simply say df equals spark dot read stream, because we want to create a streaming table. Stream dot table. Then orders. We can directly write orders, but we should not write it because catalog and schema are different for orders. It is not in the same schema. I will just talk about this because this is the part where we are just talking about dependency. So what is the source? Okay, the source is DLT Ansh dot bronze orders, source orders. This is my source, right? And I'll simply say return df. Bro, what's your problem? What is this red mark? DLT.table, name equals to this. What's wrong? I think this is wrong, maybe. No, this is just a comment. Let me remove it. No. What's I think Yeah, perfect. Yeah, now it is good. So now this is my staging area. Okay, so this is my table. If I just click on dry run, obviously I will see only one graph, basically like one object. Okay, let's wait. So it will simply populate only one object for me, and that is fine. This is saying run object completed. So now this is the thing. If I click on maximize, what you will see? You will see 5 objects. Why? 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Why? Because I should only see this one, right? This is my staging area. Why I am seeing other things? Because, bro, let me just tell you. When you say dry run, or basically run pipeline, or basically running anything, you will say, bro, I am on my second notebook, which is this one, and within this Python file, I just have this code. Why it is running everything from one as well? Because all the other things are coming from this file, right? That is the thing. When you say run, it will run everything which is inside this particular source code folder, because this is the source code of the pipeline, right? That's how it behaves, and that's how it should behave. So it is fine. You do not need to worry about that. Okay. So that is a quick note that you can just make. Okay. Now this is fine. So let's focus on only staging orders. You can just ignore the other ones, or what you can do for the quick fix, just for the learning, because I want to just show you something. You can comment it out like everything. Now it will not show this thing. If I say dry run, yes, it will run first notebook, but it will find nothing because all the things are commented out. So that is the one fix that you can just create. See, now it has just one object. Good. Now this is my object. Now Ansh Lamba, we want to use this as my source, and I want to create another object on top of it. How we can just do that? I will simply say creating transformed area. Okay, I will simply say add the dlt.table, not table. Let's say I want to create a streaming view. Okay, on top of it, I will simply say name equals orders transformed. Okay, staging orders, or basically transformed orders, just for the naming convention. Perfect. Transformed orders. I want to create this. Now the question is, what will be my source? Because if you observe it carefully, I do not have this table created because I just run dry run, right? And in order to use a source, we should have source ready in our catalog, and this is not even ready for now. So in this particular scenario, even if it is ready or even if it is not ready, you will simply use something called as df equals spark.read. That's it. Or basically you can say read stream, because we are creating a streaming table. And then you will simply say dot table. Okay, and then you will simply put staging orders. Okay, that's it. Yes, that's it. Now what will happen? Basically, in the older syntax, we used to write something like this, live, so that it would know, hey, we are referencing the live table which is here. But in the latest upgrade, we do not need to use live. Why? Because this particular delta live table pipeline, if I go to settings, okay, if I go here, I already have schema and catalog, right? So every time I'm using staging orders, it is behind the scene writing select asterisk from, or basically whatever, spark.readstream.table dlt schema dot staging order. So every time it will actually use that one. Make sense? Now if I write this, I will simply say return df. Okay, if I run dry run, you will see a kind of dependency, you can say lineage, because this is independent. Okay, perfect. This is independent, so this will come automatically. But this next transformed orders is dependent on this one, right? How it knows? Because we used source table as staging orders. Okay, and this is the source. So every time this will be used as its source, and that's how it, you can say, automatically creates a kind of dependency for you. That's how it takes care of everything. You do not need to say, hey, first write my staging orders, then use or run my transformed orders, then connect it. No, everything is taken care by DLT. That's the power of it. Okay, makes sense? Very good. Now in the transformed orders, obviously you would expect to do some transformations. That's where you can say your explorations folder come into the picture. Let's say you want to perform some transformation. Can you see the data? No. Do you want to see the data? Yes. How you can just do that? Simply go to folders and use this exploration sample file which is created for you. And this is here for us. Let me have some more space. Yeah, perfect. So this is saying example exploratory notebook, and you can use it in your exploration. And obviously we can just remove this thing, but I will just keep it as it is. I will simply remove everything. Let's say I want to see the data. At least I want to see the columns. I will simply say df equals spark.read.format, or basically table. And then I can simply say dlt Ansh dot source dot orders. Okay, and then I want to see the data, so I will simply say display df. In short, you can write your PySpark code here just to have some sneak peek, right? Just to see some data. Hey, how it is looking, what exactly we need to do, because in the files you will write the code. In order to see the data, you need a kind of notebook, and this notebook is always there for you in this particular folder called explorations. This is not the part of, you can say, dry run, because you will see now if I run dry run, this notebook will not be running. Nothing. Do not feel, hey, it will run this, it will waste my resources. No, it will not be running. Every time only this folder will be running. Okay, if you put this notebook inside this, obviously then it will run, because this is your source code, right? But do not put it. So let's wait and let's see our data, how it is looking and what we need to do with that. And obviously it is a first cell, so it will take a little longer as compared to the normal flows. And meanwhile I can just check if I have covered all the things in the flow. Yes. Okay, see, maximum number of retries has been exceeded. So this is the thing. Now what is happening, this particular same cluster is attached here as well and here as well. So sometime it can throw these kinds of intermittent failures. Simply rerun it, or simply wait for 15-20 minutes, half an hour, so that your resources are back. You simply need to just wait, like you cannot do anything else. Okay, and that's why if you are using free edition, I would not encourage you to open so many tabs, so many files, so many notebooks in one go. It can break, because it cannot just fulfill your demand as per the number of cores available and resources and everything, because you are using free edition, so they cannot provide you everything for free. But yes, if you use it wisely, you can. Okay, then let's say if it works now. Otherwise I have to detach this notebook from here. Or otherwise I will simply stop it and I will simply write my code directly without having a sneak peek, because I can simply go to catalog just to see the columns and some sample data. Makes sense, makes sense, makes sense. Okay, yeah, it is not working. So I knew it. So basically, yeah, perfect. So what we're gonna do now, we will simply say, hey, detach it. Detach and reattach, not really. Let's close it. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, I know that my data looks like something like what do I have in the data? Let's say in the catalog. Okay, let's go to the catalog and then DLT schema, then let's say mat view. Let's look at the data, sample data, and for that we need to turn on the SQL warehouse. Oh man. Okay, then reset. Okay, now it is giving me the sample data. Let's see, because I just want to perform a little transformation so that you can understand, okay, this is the thing that we need to do. Okay. I think there was a column called status, but I do not exactly know. Yeah, order status. So what transformations we can do? Obviously, there's nothing much to do here, but still, just for the example, I will simply take this order status. Let's say we want to convert this particular statement into lowercase instead of uppercase. That's a kind of transformation that we want to perform. Let's say I will simply write my transformation df equals df dot with column. Okay, and this is just a normal basic PySpark code that I'm writing. Do not feel like, hey, what is this? So not here, in the transformation area. I will simply say df equals df dot with column. Okay, and this is the same thing, order status. Order status, okay. And then I want to use something called as, so this is the column that I want to perform, okay. And then let's say I want to perform lower, and then I can simply write something like this, column of order status. And in order to use this, I want to import functions from PySpark.sql.functions import asterisks. Okay. Okay, so this is a transformation that I want to perform. Let's say dry run. So always go with dry run if you want to just test your code. That's it. That's the best thing. Okay, perfect. It is working fine. That means it is fine. So now on top of this, I want to create a, you can say, aggregated gold table. I'll simply say creating business view basic, or let's say aggregated area. Okay, aggregated orders. Okay, and now I want to write, let's say df equals spark dot read stream, obviously because I'm just processing incremental data, read stream dot table. Okay, then I will simply say transformed orders because I want to refer this particular thing, which is transformed orders now, right? So I will simply say transformed orders, and this is the code that I will be writing. Simple, and return df. Simple. Make sense? Okay, so now let's click on dry run, and now let's see the lineage, because we should see the lineage, right? Because this will be our staging orders, then transformed orders, then obviously our aggregated orders. Perfect, 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 perfect. See, that is the thing that we have developed, the entire lineage. So that this is the main one, and then this is the view, streaming view, and this is the table that is just aggregating the data. That's all. That's how you create, you can say, a kind of end-to-end flow. Okay, makes sense. Now this was like very basic, very basic. Okay, very basic. Obviously this was like good, you learned a lot, but this was very basic. Now let's try to start with something called as a more real-time example where you'll be creating so many tables, because now you understand it, right? So now we can just take an example of, you can say, a real world use case, how we can just create a medallion architecture and everything. Okay, makes sense. So what I will do, I will also comment it out. So whenever you will be using this particular notebook, okay, you can always turn off the comment. How you can just do that? Just select all and just hit control and slash, and everything will be back. Okay, but obviously I do not want to delete this, and I do not want to run this. So I will simply comment it out, everything, because whenever I will be clicking on run button, I do not want to run this particular thing, these things, right? But I want you to just refer this as, you can say, source, basically for notes, for everything, right? But now whatever we are developing right now, including bronze, silver, gold layer, you can just run it. And yes, I want to run all the things within that. Okay, so this was a kind of tutorial that was required. Let's try to build something, and let's cover all, like, rest of, there are so many things, let me just tell you, so many things, but let's cover all those so many things by doing it with the help of real-time use case. Okay, let's see. So bro, now let's actually try to build a real world use case where you will be building medallion architecture, and not just medallion architecture, you will literally build, you can say, bronze layer, silver layer, and you will be building slowly changing dimensions as well. Yes, you want to build slowly changing dimensions, and you know slowly changing dimensions are the, you can say, most complex part in the, you can say, data warehousing area, right? So everything will be done with the delta live tables, and do not need to worry, we're gonna learn so many new things, so many upgraded things as well meanwhile building this project, because now you have the base ready, right? So what I'm gonna do, I will be setting up my source. Okay, so I will simply go to, let's say, this catalog. Okay, perfect. So I am here in my catalog, and this is my catalog DLT Ansh. Within the source, let's create some tables. Okay, and we know that we're gonna use SQL. So I will simply go to, let's say, let's say workspace. Okay, and let's go inside this declarative pipelines. Okay, perfect. And we know that we can delete DLT because we are not using it. We are simply using DLT root. Okay, do not delete DLT root. So within this, now we have options. We can either create a query, same thing that we created before, or we can create SQL file as well. So I will simply go with query. Okay, and now let's create the query. This query will be used to create our sources. Okay, I will simply rename it as data warehouse source. Okay, perfect. Now where is the SQL statements? So this boy has done the hard work for you. So you can simply go to this, wow, lovely repository, and simply click on this and then click on repositories. Yeah, it's your choice, you can click on it, right? Then click on Ansh Lamba YouTube. Then you need to select this folder which is called Delta Live Tables. Okay, so this is the repo that I have just created, not like repo, the folder within the repo that I have just created, and this is the file which is called SQL DDL. So we can, or basically you as well, can refer to this SQL DDL command. Okay, you need to run it one by one, and the same, you can say, in the same way that I'm running. Okay, do not need to just copy and paste and run all the things. Okay, first of all, we will be creating something called as, let me first of all give you an overview what we are trying to do. Okay, so what I can do, I need some blank space. Perfect. So let me just tell you what I'm trying to do, because I have drafted this particular project so that you can learn the most out of DLT, or basically delta live tables. So what do we have? Basically, we gonna create a sales data warehouse. Okay, sales data warehouse makes sense. Okay, sales data warehouse. What are we gonna do in this? Let's talk about it. So basically, you are having, basically in your organization, you need to build a data warehouse for the sales. For, you can say, let's say you are working in a startup or anything. Okay, because sales are everywhere. So now your sales data is actually distributed among different regions, and in your organization, currently your organization has footsteps in east and west region. Okay, so one sales data is coming from here and the second sales data is coming from here. Okay, so let me just use orange color. Okay, so this is east. Okay, and this is west. Okay, so these are two different sources that you are using for the same table, which is sales data. Okay, because your organization has footsteps in multiple regions, so you have like data coming from different regions. Makes sense. Now what you need to do, you need to use this data. Okay, so let me just say this is your sales data. Along with this, you have something called as which color should I use? White. No. Okay, so you had east and west. Okay, now let me quickly write east, west. Okay, this is the sales data. Now along with this, you have something called as dimension. Let's say this dimension is for, let's say, products. Okay, okay, products. Okay, you need to use this as well. Now you have another dimension, and this dimension is called, let's say, customers. Okay, makes sense. Okay, So these are the high level tables, but do you know what will be the flow? Let's talk about the flow right now. So we need to first of all combine these two data sources, okay? And we need to create a new one. Let's say like this, okay? And this data will be coming from here plus here, and we need to manage this within DLT. And do not worry, yes, these are complex real-time scenarios, but we gonna just tackle these, and these are important for your learning, okay? So we gonna create a kind of unionized version of your sources, okay? This will be your sales data, okay, makes sense. Then you will be having products data as well, okay? And then you will be having customers data as well, right? So this will be your bronze layer, okay? Then this bronze layer will go to silver layer, okay? In silver layer, you will be creating, let's say, different transformed versions of data and everything, okay? Let's say like this, and like this. You have a challenge here. You need to use something called as upsert for silver layer. Why? Because obviously you cannot just append the data, because silver layer is transformed data and you cannot have duplicates. Plus you need to manage all the changes as well, like everything. Okay, very good. Then this data will be going in the gold layer, okay? This will be going in the gold layer. In the gold layer, you will be creating slowly changing dimensions, okay? And obviously fact table and another slowly changing dimension. This will be really challenging. And why? Because you will get to know. The reason is, first of all, obviously slowly changing dimension. Second thing is, I'm just giving you a hint. Don't worry if you do not understand that. Basically, whenever you create a streaming table, it is the property of it that it cannot work with any source if source gets changed. Let me repeat. So this is an upsert. That means we are not just appending the data, we are changing the data as well. That means update the data as well. Whereas streaming tables are built in such a way that they can only work with append only sources. But obviously we need to tackle this scenario. So I will just tell you how you can just do that. Make sense? Okay, very good. So this is the kind of high level architecture that you will be developing in this particular real-time use case. So let's do it one by one. Okay, so now we are ready. Yes, we are ready. So first of all, create this table, which is called create table sales east. Okay, this is my first table. Okay, let me just drag it here and let me just say create table. And obviously I want to insert the data in this, and just insert this data. Why? Because we do not want to load incremental data for now. Incremental data will be for the validation. Make sense? Okay, very good. So let's run this. Start, attach and run. And I can give heading as well. Sales east source table, or basically table. Okay. Create table, and then I can say initial load, and then this completed. Okay, good. Now obviously we have another thing as well, which is called incremental load, but we will not be running it right now, but we can just paste the code for our reference so that we can just run it later. Or second option is we will bring the incremental data after developing the whole pipeline, okay, just for the validation. So just to eliminate all the confusion, we are not loading any incremental data for now. Let's create another table, which is this one. Okay, and just for the better readability, I will simply add this line after every table. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Create table, and this is my sales west table. So you can see that schema is exactly the same. right? Because obviously schema should not be different because both are contributing to the same table, right? So I will simply run this command and just run it like this by selecting it because we do not want to run it this one. Okay. Otherwise it can break the whole flow. That's why I told you that just take care of this part. Okay. Incremental load. Basically, very good. Now let's load the data for products and customers. So we have products data here. Oh, we have so many products. Perfect. Create products table. Okay, let's run this. Run selected, yes. Incremental load. And let's quickly load our last table. Okay, good. And these will be our incremental load, and we'll be just taking care about these things. Okay, later. This is our last table. Okay. Okay, makes sense. Create customers table. Okay, perfect. So let's run this. Okay, perfect. So this is also completed. Okay, so now what we need to do, I will also save this query because this query is important, and this as well. Save this query. Okay. Yes, you need to save your queries. Okay, so this is done. Let's check if we have everything ready. If I go to catalog, I should see all these tables. DLT Ansh, source. Let me refresh. Oh man, I think we didn't change the catalog and schema. I think so, maybe, but that's not a big deal. We can simply change it right now as well. But I think so, we haven't done that. If we don't see the table, yeah, we didn't do that. So let's do it quickly. If I go to workspace and declarative pipelines, data warehouse source. So remember, we need to just change it. We changed it. Okay. DLT Ansh and source. Oh, this is fine. So it should be there. Then it should be there. If it is not there. Okay. Oh man. We didn't select the source. We simply selected DLT schema, I guess. No. What's wrong, man? What's wrong? Let me just duplicate it. What did we miss? Data warehouse source. Okay. So this is DLT Ansh. Okay. This is source. If I say create table. Okay, now it is done. Okay. Now I should see it, right? Oh, now I have. Okay. So maybe we didn't select the right, you can say. So no worries. I can simply run everything in one go. So I'll simply select this like this and run it everything. Perfect. So 3 statements are running, 4. Perfect. Yeah, everything is done. So if I see, I should see all the tables. Yes, we have all the tables, products, orders, and blah blah blah. We can ignore orders table because orders table was just for tutorial. That's it. But now we have sales list. Okay, perfect. Let's start working with it. So now what we need to do, we need to create a DLT pipeline, right? So I will simply go to my source code, and this is my DLT pipeline. Okay, and this is a tutorial folder. But as I just mentioned that I will be creating a new folder like in the form of Medallion Architecture, and let me comment it out everything so that we do not run anything which is not necessary to our Medallion Architecture. So comment it out, and you already know the reason why we are commenting it out. Okay, perfect. So let's create a new folder, and I'll simply say bronze because this is my bronze folder. Very good. So now do you know what we need to do? Do you know? Obviously we need to create a new file, right? Simple, not folder, file. Very good. So this will be called as data ingestion. Okay. Now you have choice. You can either load data in different files, or you can load everything in one file. I personally prefer loading or working with only one object in one file. So I'll simply say sales ingestion, or basically ingestion sales. Okay, ingestion sales. Perfect. And in this particular section, you will also understand how you create the folder structure in the real industry as well. Okay, so sales ingestion sales.py. Okay, so what we need to do in this, you will be introduced to a new concept. You will say, hey Ansh, Lamba, we can create streaming tables like this. Let's say this is our east, this is our west. Okay, east, and this is our west. Okay, and we need to create, and these are our sources, right? These two are our sources. So we can simply create one streaming table on top of it, and we can create one streaming table on top of it, and we can then apply union or something like that. I will say yes, you can do that, not an issue with that. But what is the recommended approach by Databricks? What is that particular recommended approach? Basically, we have a new concept. Okay, what is that? So remember, we can create streaming table on top of any source. Yes. Now let me just tell you, you can even create empty streaming tables. Ooh, yes, empty streaming tables. So what we need to do within this, so this is, let's say, my empty streaming table. Let me say empty stream table. Okay, so this is my empty streaming table. So now what will happen? What will happen? Let's say this is my source east. Let's say this is my source west. Okay, east and west. Okay, perfect. So now what will happen? If so now if I want to store the data containing both the tables, so what I will do, I will not create table on top of it and table on top of it. No, what I will do, I will use something called as append flow. Okay, I will use something called as append flow. Append flow means I will create a flow on top of this table, on top of this source, whatever you can say, and I will append it in this particular empty table. Wow. And then I will create a flow on top of the source, and I will append it within this particular empty streaming table. So this way I am only creating this object, empty streaming table. That's it. Right? And this is empty, and I am simply creating the flow. I am not creating any kind of object. I am not creating anything. I'm simply creating a flow. And this way I can create as many flows as I want, and everything will be contributing to the same streaming table. Sounds interesting, right? And it is really interesting. Let's create it. And it's very simple. It's very simple. Why? Because Ansh Lamba is here, right? So take a chill pill. So let's create it. So how we can just create that? Before that, simply say import DLT. Then click on connect, because we want to connect it to our cluster. And starting pipeline compute. Yeah, it will be ready. Meanwhile, we can just write our code. Yeah, it is done. So now what we need to do, we need to first of all create the empty streaming table. So this will be empty streaming table, right? So how we can just do that? It's very simple. Simply say at the rate D, not even at the rate. I will simply say, do we need at the rate? I think yes. DLT dot create streaming table. See, that's it. And within this, you can simply provide the name of the streaming table. Let's say name equals to, I want to say stream table. No. I would say append sales. Make sense? Append sales. Okay, so I just want to create an empty streaming table which is called append sales. Okay, make sense? Okay, very good. Now, why it is red? Why? Do we need to use this? No, we do not need to use, I think, decorator. It is fine. Let me just confirm. DLT dot create streaming table. I have literally written down everything that I need to cover within this video so that I don't miss anything. Where is that? Okay. Yeah, it's fine. We do not need to worry about anything. Okay. Create streaming table. Okay. It's fine. So now dlt.create streaming table. So this is our empty streaming table. Okay. Now we need to create flow. Let's create our flow number 1. I will simply say creating east flow, east sales flow. Very simple. You simply need to write def function. You will simply say, hey, don't we need to write @dlt.table because we need to just create streaming table? No, because streaming table is there, right? You will simply write the function, which is def, let's say east sales. Okay. East sales. And then I will simply say def equals spark dot read stream dot table. Okay. And table source is dlt Ansh dot source dot east sales, right? Whatever the name is, let me just check. Source sales east. Okay. Perfect. Sales east. Perfect. I will simply say return df. So now I'm returning this df, but where this df will go, where this data frame will go, it will go here. I will simply say dlt dot append flow, and then I need to define the target. Target equals this append sales. Simple. This way it will send this df to this particular streaming table. Simple. See how simple it was. Then I simply need to say creating west sales flow similarly, and I can simply say sales west and return df, and this sales west will also go to this streaming table. Simple. That's all. That's all. Let me just show you the flow. Let me click on dry run and you will see the flow. Append flow is actually very, very useful when you just want to create these things. So it is done. If I click on expand, this is my append sales. See, what is append sales? Append sales is this particular empty table. See, and this is actually sending data to this particular streaming table. Make sense? I hope it makes sense. I hope it makes sense. I hope it makes sense. Right? So basically, we will simply create a streaming table, right? Which will be empty. I'm just revising your concepts. Then you can simply say, hey, this is my def, which is function, and I just want to return the def. But I do not want to create a streaming table or any kind of view. I simply need to append this flow, and target is this one. That's it. That is it. Nothing special. And I would say that is the hype of append flow. But yes, you need to understand the concept very, very carefully in order to just implement that. Make sense? Okay, very good. Now what we need to do. Let me just tell you what you need to do now. Our one file is completed, ingestion sales. Let's create another file which is called ingestion products. Do you know what? I love this folder architecture, this folder structure. Earlier, we had to write all the pipeline code within the notebook. Only one notebook. That's it. Imagine how hectic it was to manage that particular notebook if you have like so many data sources, so many flows, so many targets. But now it's so easy because we know, hey, if we want to change something or look something into this particular file, we can simply go here, and this is the code which is dedicatedly written for sales. That's it. Then products, then customers, then this is just bronze layer. If you want to do something in silver layer, go to silver layer, go to dedicated script, then gold. So this is the thing, and this is the power of new, you can say, UI, right? And I love this one. So let's create ingestion products. I will simply say import DLT, and here again we just want to create a streaming table. basically ingesting products, and this should be very simple. Okay, ingesting products, I'll simply say dlt.table, because I want to create a streaming table, and I'll simply say products stage stg. Okay, and here as well I can simply say sales stg instead of append sales. I think sales stg is a better word, and here as well sales stg, and here as well sales stg. Perfect, that is a good word and good naming convention. Then I can simply say def products stg, and here we will create a data frame spark dot read stream dot table. Now table is, we all know, dlt Ansh, then source, then products. Make sense? And return df. Perfect, return df. Take care of indentation because this is Python. Okay, so that is done. We simply need to write this code, and if I say dry run, it should work fine, and I know it will run fine. So let me create another file here, which is called ingestion customers. Okay, perfect. Ingestion customers, and I can see the graph, products stg and sales stg. Yes, perfect. So let me just copy and paste the code, and I'll simply write customers because it is almost the same. Perfect. Customers stg and customers. Don't worry, it is not ready. We need to just talk about something called as expectations as well. Okay, but yeah, this is the base of our bronze layer. Okay, perfect, perfect, perfect. So now we will be having 3 objects, right? Good. Let's see, what do we have? Okay, so this is also completed. So in your particular scenario as well, you should see 3 different objects. Make sense? 3 different objects. So basically now you, like, what you need to do, you will be simply adding something called as rules to your data. Okay, because let's say this is your flow for now, just for the bronze layer. This is fine, but let's say in this particular customers data, you are having some null customers that you do not want to feed your downstream. You are having some pseudo data that is not like, or you can say corrupted data that you do not want to feed to your downstream, right? Same with sales as well. Okay, makes sense. So what you can do, you can simply add something called as expectations. Remember we talked about expectations for data quality checks in the beginning of this video. It's time to just talk about it. Let me just take you to the documentation page, because I think they have some amazing visuals that you can use for your understanding. DLT expectations, or basically this one. Where is your page? I think this one. Yeah, perfect. So I was just talking about this particular visual. This is really, really good. So let me just tell you what happens. Okay, so let's say you have some source data, which is the raw data, and you have some expectations from that data. Expectations can be anything. Let's say you do not want any kind of null data. You do not want, let's say in your sales data, you do not want any quantity less than 0, any rule. You want it to have all the things clean and tidy, and obviously these are your expectations. Okay, now if, but obviously like source is not like in anyone's control, right? It can have some corrupted records. So that is why we have this concept. Let's say it passes all the expectations, then what will happen? We will simply process the data and we will just send that data to the downstream. That is fine. But if that particular expectation doesn't meet that means it fails, then we have three types of actions. What are those three actions? We can either send the warning, and what will happen in the warning? Nothing. We will simply keep the record. We will send the data to the downstream, but we will send the warning. Hey, just correct your data. This time we processed your data, but next time we will not process it. This type of warning. Next thing, you can simply drop the record. So what will happen? Let's say you have 100 records and 10 records have corrupted data. You can simply drop 10 records and just send 90 records to the downstream. Simple. These two are fine. The third one is the brutal one. It will simply say if even a single record doesn't meet my expectations, I will simply fail the entire flow. I will not let any other record go to the downstream. I will simply fail the entire flow. But in some scenarios, we want to because see, let's say you are processing some critical data. You cannot afford to have any of the corrupted records. Then you have to fail the flow. Make sense? Make sense. I hope this visual will help you to understand the concept. I love this visual. I love this. You can also just try to just understand the whole concept within this one diagram. Now let's read some, you can say definitions, but I hope that I was able to make you understand all these things with the help of this diagram, because this is enough. Now let's read it. What are expectations? Expectations are the optional clauses. That means we do not need to define it everywhere. No, these are optional. In pipeline, materialized view, streaming table, or view, you can define it anywhere. That apply data quality checks on each record passing through a query. Yes. That means I told you, see, you have records, it will be just checking the quality of each record, right? Expectations use standard SQL Boolean statements and specify constraints. Yes. You will be saying, hey, you are talking about rules. What are the syntax? What is the right syntax that we need to use? SQL. SQL, simple. Okay. Plus, you can combine multiple expectations for a single data set. Yes. Let's say you created one expectation. Okay. Then you created another one. You can just combine both. It's fine. Okay. Good. Then expectation name and all blah, blah, blah things. So this is basically the kind of syntax, but I don't want to show you this particular syntax, because I am a fan of passing a dictionary into the expectation, because obviously you can have multiple rules, right? So if you just want to have multiple rules, we use a dictionary, and that is the better way to manage it. Simply scroll down at the bottom, and this is the syntax. Basically, let's have a look again at this diagram as well. Nothing special. Instead of having just one expectation, we are having multiple expectations. So let's say in your source, you want to set multiple rules, and this is the real world scenario. You set multiple rules, right? So that is why I like this, and rest of the things are exactly the same, right? But obviously syntax changes. What do? We simply create a dictionary of key value pairs. We simply say, hey, this is rule number 1. This is a rule using SQL syntax. Rule number 2, SQL syntax. Rule number 3, SQL syntax. That's it. Then after writing dlt.table, we simply add this particular decorator just before our function, which is called @dlt.expect _all. That means you are expecting, or basically you have expectation for all the rules. And what are the rules? Simply pass your dictionary. That's it. So Ansh, Lamba, yes, you said that we have 3 actions. If expectation is failed, then we can either warn, fail, and drop the records. How we will manage that? Basically, it is very simple. We have 3 different kind of decorators. One is this one, second is this one, third is this one. If we use this one, that means we do not want to fail anything or drop anything. We simply need to warn it, because this is by default. Then second is drop. That means if record is not following the rule, simply drop that record. And this is brutal. If even only one record is not following the rule, simply break the whole flow. Okay, makes sense. Let's see how we can just add the expectations in our, you can say, tables. It's very simple. So I will simply go to my DLT pipeline, and let's add expectations first of all in the products table, or basically customers table. Okay, so I will define the expectation. I will simply say expectations, basically customers expectations. Make sense? So now let's create the dictionary. I will simply say customers rules. Okay. And this is a kind of dictionary. I will simply say rule number 1. And rule number 1 should be, let's have a sneak peek of the data if we can. If I go to source, if I go to products, then I have product name, product ID. So product ID, I can just add something on product ID, because see, product ID should not have nulls, right? So let's apply the expectation on top of it, and price as well, because price should not be less than 0. It doesn't make any sense, right? So let's add these two rules. So I will simply say rule number 1 is product ID is not null. Okay, this is rule number 1. Rule number 2 is price greater than 0, greater than or equals to 0. Makes sense? So these are my rules that I want to apply. Now I will simply go here and I will simply say @DLT dot expect all. Now what you want to do? You want to fail the flow or you want to warn it? Let's say drop. Let's drop the records. Okay. So what it will do? It will simply drop the records if this particular dictionary rules are not satisfied. Make sense? Okay. Very good. Let's create rules for customers as well. So again, customer ID is not null. And let's say region is also not null, because region is very important field and we want to, or let's say customer name. Okay, very good. Let's create that. I'll simply go to, oh, this is customers, right? Okay, so we just mix the things. So this is basically products rules. Okay. Okay, products rules. Let me just copy and paste. So our products is done. Let me just paste it here. Perfect. Okay, products expectations. Okay, let me just write it here @DLT dot expect all product rules. Perfect. So this is fine. Yes, this is fine. Let's now write the customers one. So I'll simply say customers rules. Okay, so what is rule number 1? Rule number 1 is customer ID is not null, and second rule is let's say customer name is also not null. Make sense? Okay, perfect. Customer rules, product rules, everything is fine. Okay, now let's actually see how we can add rules in this table, because see, we do not have any kind of streaming table here because this is just a flow. We do not have any kind of streaming table here. This is just a flow, but we have a streaming table here. And yes, we can just apply the expectations here as well. But how? Because we are not simply returning the data frame. We are simply having an empty, you can say, streaming table, right? So here's the thing. You simply need to write something called as expect all or drop, or basically expect all or fail, and then just simply pass the dictionary. That's it. So let me just show you how you can just do that. So basically, let's say in the orders table, you should not have, I think, null in order ID. Basically sales, not orders. Sale ID. Okay, sales ID. Perfect. So in this sales ID, I just want one rule. That's it. Okay. So I'll simply say sales expectations, or basically sales rules, whatever naming convention we are using. Yeah, rules. Okay. And this is sales expectations. Perfect. So sales rules are simple. Only one rule. And it says sales ID is not null. Make sense? So these are the rules, but how we will be just applying it? Because we cannot write like this @DLT.expect all blah blah blah. No, because we just do that in the streaming table. And here also we cannot do it. No. Here we have a special feature. We have to write it. It's inside it. We will simply say expect all or drop, expect all or fail, I will simply say expect all or drop. Instead of writing @DLT dot expect all, we will simply write expect all or drop. Simple. And then these are the rules, sales rules. Perfect. Let's apply dry run and let's see. We do not have any kind of errors. If we have, obviously we will just eliminate those errors. No need to worry. But I don't think so we should have any kind of errors, but yeah, syntactical errors can be there. Boom. So see, these are the expectations. Now if you see the logs, now if you just click on it, you have expectations, right? See, you have 2 expectations for customers, 2 expectations for products, 1 expectation for sales. So it tracks that as well. If I click on it, you can actually see, hey, this is a rule 1. If it will not be fulfilled, it will simply drop the record. Okay, perfect. So this is my bronze data ready. Make sense? This is my bronze data and it is ready. Okay. Now, in order to create the silver table, or basically silver layer, we will be creating a kind of streaming view. Okay. Why not streaming table? You will create the streaming table as well. Don't worry, but you will create the streaming view as well. Okay. Okay. And why? Let me just tell you. So if I just show you the graph, first of all, this is the graph. Okay. This is the graph. Now, this is my bronze layer, right? Now, in order to create the silver layer, this is my source. This is my source. This is my source. This is my source. Makes sense? So now, yes, I can create the streaming table, and on top of it, I will not just be creating a normal streaming table. I will be creating something called as upsorted tables. Okay. And in order to create the upsorted tables, you have to work with something called as AUTOCDC. Okay, this is a new API launched in Delta Live Tables, which is called AUTOCDC. And it was, I think, previously known as apply changes. Now it is called AUTOCDC. So now this AUTOCDC, what it will do, it will apply the upsort logic based on the key columns plus based on the date as well. Okay, don't worry, you will understand it by doing it, because it is easier to explain this while doing it instead of just explaining it in the air or in the theory. Okay. But yes, you will be creating streaming tables, but you have to create streaming views as well, because let's say you created this table. Now, in order to create the gold layer, you cannot use this table, this one. Why? Because this is an upsorted table. Okay. An upsorted table can be updated, and streaming table cannot use a source which gets changed. We cannot. Yes, we can, but we have to just configure it, and if it changes, it will not capture those changes, and we want to capture those changes. So in order to do that, we have to create something called a streaming view, because streaming view will only and only ingest the new data. That's it. And this new data will obviously only the append only data, and this will go to the gold layer. Don't worry, you will understand this as well. Let's first focus on the silver layer. Okay. So in order to create the silver layer, let me just show you what you need to do. Let's take an example of, first of all, product staging. Okay. This one. Let's say we want to just populate this data. Okay. So now I will be simply creating a new file, basically folder. First of all, create folder, and I will simply say silver. Okay, within the silver, let's create a file, and let me just say transform sales. Make sense? We are actually following a very good naming convention. See, bronze, then ingest, customers, ingest, ingestion, customers, ingestion, products, ingestion, sales, then silver, transform. By the way, very good spelling. Very good spelling. How to rename it? Rename. Okay, transform sales, and obviously others as well. You just need to understand only one. You will be just able to do the rest of the things on your own. Trust me. So let's open this one. Okay, and this is our notebook. Let's have some space. Perfect. So in order to work with AUTOCDC, you need to first of all understand how it will behave. So let me just take you to the documentation page. AUTOCDC. I like Azure documentation page more. Perfect. So this is called create AUTOCDC flow. So we need to create something called as AUTOCDC flow, or you can say AUTOCDC. Both are the same things. So basically you already know some of the context already. How and why? You remember you created your empty streaming table. You also need to create it here as well. Okay. So for that, what you do? You simply need to create an empty streaming table. Okay. So that means this is your streaming table. Let's say this one. This is your streaming source, right? Products, STG, or maybe sales. We are talking about sales. So let's say sales. This is your source. Okay. And what will be your target? Your target will be an empty streaming table. And you know how to do that. Okay. So you'll be creating an empty streaming table. But instead of using append flow, you will be using something called as create AUTOCDC flow. Because this flow is specially built to create the upsorted tables. Okay. So what we will do, we will simply say target equals to target table. That means our empty streaming table. Then source, obviously our source, which is our normal flow, which is this one, sales STG. Okay, that's it. Then keys. This is very important because whenever you just want to perform upsert, by the way, if you are coming from SQL background, you would understand something called as merge statement. So this is exactly the same stuff. Okay. So in order to say, hey, we want to apply a merge or upsort, we need key columns, right? So for example, you have a source, you have, let's say 1 and AA, 2 BB, 3 CC, something like this in your source. And in the destination, you have a lot of stuff. Let's say 1 XYZ, second is ZYX, and third is YZX. Okay. So now what will happen? Let's put some, let's say 1 XYZ, then 5, then 6. Blah, blah. Okay. So what will happen? So here, as we can see that this data is already there, 1 and 1, because 1 is a key column. So what it will do, it will simply match 1 with 1 and it will simply update this value. Make sense? So this is called update. Now second and third are not even there in the destination. It will simply insert this data. This is called upsert. Okay. Either it will update the data or it will insert the data. So we need a key column to make that decision. So this is the key column. Okay. So here we simply say key column. Then we have something called as sequence by. This is really, really important because see, let's say in the same example, you have 1 AA, then you have 1, then you have BB, then let's say this thing. Okay. And in the destination, you have, let's say 1 and its value is XYZ. So now you have two values in the source. So which value it should pick to update it? It is decided by sequence by column. Why? Because maybe this value is older, this value is new, and obviously we need to use the latest value. So we decided using sequence by column. In 99.99% of the cases, you will be using something related to a date column. And in our scenario as well, we'll be using date column to decide that this value is new and this value is old. Okay. So it simply picks the latest value and updates the data. And even let's say this data is not here, it will simply pick the latest data and it will insert it based on the sequence by column. Make sense? Okay, good. And then you can say apply, ignore, null, deletes, updates, it is fine. Apply as deletes, fine. Apply as truncates. Basically, what is that? So let's say you have some kind of operation in your particular source and which is saying what operation you want to perform, ID, whatever. So it is for that particular purpose. So it is fine. Okay. This is very interesting, except column list. Let's say you have some additional columns in your source, but you do not want to keep it in the destination table. You can simply say, hey bro, create this particular table, but do not pick these columns because I do not want that. So that's how you can just work with this. Okay. So these are optional, by the way. You do not need to just pick and put everything. Okay, so this is all about your, you can say, short story about create AutoCDC flow, and you can just do a lot of things with this. And let me just show you one by one how you can just do that. Oh, I hope it makes sense. See, these are complex topics, I know. Plus, do not expect that you will understand 100% of it in one go. No, you have to just re-refer the parts of the video multiple times. That's how everyone learns. Do not feel like I will watch the video only one time and I will become the master of DLT. Bro, yes, you will become the master of DLT, I promise. But you need to just make another promise that you will watch this video multiple times. You need to practice DLT multiple times. Can you make that promise to me? If yes, I will make a promise to you that you will master DLT. That's it. It's a trade-off. Simple. Simple dimple. Okay. Ansh Lamba. Okay, so very good. I'm just checking like everything is done, because I'm just waiting to write the code for all the silver layer tables. It's very easy, by the way. So okay, this is done, this is done, this is done. Okay. Okay, so let's do it. Let's actually do it. So basically, now we are going to use a kind of bronze tables. Yes. Okay. And we already know how to create the destination tables for silver layer. We will be creating something called as empty streaming tables, right? Make sense? Simple, simple, simple. Now you have two options. What are the two options? One is that you can directly use the data from your bronze tables that you have created, like the streaming tables. Second is you can create a view on top of it and then use it as a source. Let me just show you. Okay. What is the advantage of it? I would say I don't think there is any kind of big advantage, but yeah, just to make the flow with easier, you can say, lineage, it is really, really good. So let's say this is your bronze table, sales. Okay. Now in order to create your silver layer, you can directly use it, because we have source options and we can simply say, hey, source is sales table. And what is sales table? Sales table is your normal, whatever you do. You can do that. There's no harm in it. But in some cases, or sometimes I also personally like this particular thing. Let's say sales. This is a table, but I will create a view, not a materialized view, simple view, simple query. Okay. Like this. This is my view. And then I use this as my source for silver table. Okay. Personal choice. You can just pick anything. Let's try to work directly with the sales table. Okay. Or yeah, let's try to work directly with the sales table. Okay. And in the other case, we will simply create a view so that you can understand it better. Okay. Just for your understanding. Make sense? Okay, good. So now what we're going to do, we'll simply say, creating destination silver table. Perfect. And in order to create that, it's very simple. DLT dot create streaming table. Perfect. Name equals sales transform, or basically enriched, because enriched is another popular name for, you can say, transform data. Okay. So this is my target. Okay. Now what I will do, I will simply say DLT dot create AutoCDC flow. Okay. Now what is the basically the target? Okay. So I'll simply go here just to grab the syntax like this. So I'll simply say, just give me all these things. Perfect. So it is simply saying target. Let me just use tab. Perfect. So target is my sales enriched. Make sense? Source is my sales, I think, stage, if I'm not wrong. Sales stage. Yeah, perfect. So this is my source. Key column is very simple. Key column is, I think, sales ID. Very good. Sequence by is, I think I need to check. If I'm not wrong, it is sale timestamp. Okay, let's use that one. Sale timestamp. Perfect. Ignore null, false. Apply as truncates, it's fine. Oops. Everything is done. Yeah, this is important. We need to say what type of SCD we want to create. We will simply say 1. Don't worry, this is not a slowly changing dimension. This is just a silver table, but absurd table are also known as slowly changing dimension type 1 and vice versa. Slowly changing dimension type 1 tables are also known as absurd tables. Okay, so this is like very common name for it. That's it. If I say dry run, I should see this particular table created directly on top of sales STG. Let's wait and let's see if it is working fine. And then we will do the same stuff with your products and customers tables as well. Okay. See, it is so simple because now your base is completed. Base is ready. See, we have created this thing. If I say maximize, perfect. So see, I told you that we can either create a view in the middle, but it is not actually required because we can use this as a source directly. Make sense? Okay, very good. So this is our streaming table built on top of this particular streaming table. Very good. But here, as I told you, we do not just need to create a streaming table. We also need to create a view. Why? I told you, bro. Why do we need to create a view? Because we need to capture only and only the new data. Make sense? Make sense? Make sense? Make sense? And obviously, along with this, we also, let's say, want to perform some transformation. That's where that view concept comes into the picture. So in this particular scenario, we actually didn't perform any kind of transformations. We simply created absurd table using bronze. But what if you want to create some transformations? You want to apply some transformations. And obviously in most of the scenarios, you will be performing some transformations. So that's where you create a view to perform those transformations. I will simply say transforming sales data. Okay. So here you will create a view with all those transformations. I will simply say @dlt.view. Okay, and this will be a streaming view. Remember, I will name it as name equals sales enrich view. Not enriched. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. No. Sales STG transform. Okay. Okay, perfect. So I'll simply say sales STG transform. Perfect. So here we will be creating a data frame with the transformation. I will simply say spark.read stream. Okay, read stream dot format. Then dot table, and table will be sales stage. Now just write your transformations. Let's say you want to rename a column, not rename, let's perform some real transformations. Let's say this is our sales ID, product ID, amount. Okay, then sale timestamp, product ID, customer ID. Basically in the fact table we do not perform much transformations because fact tables are literally the facts. We do not change the facts. So the max thing that we can do is just renaming the thing. So let's perform some minor transformation, which is, let's say, renaming it. Let's say I want to say total amount instead of amount, or let's create a new column which will be calling as, let's say, total amount, which is like multiplication of quantity and amount. This can be a real time, you can say, transformation. Okay, so in order to do that, I'll simply say df equals df dot with column, then total amount, and then what will be the transformation? Transformation will be very simple. Column of quantity, column of unit price. Perfect. And then return df. Okay, perfect. So this is my view. Now this view will become my source instead of sales staging. Okay, make sense? That's why I always try to add a kind of view in between, because in order to perform transformations we need a view. Make sense? Okay, very good. Now this is my view. If I now let's say dry run, I should see that. Now along with the streaming table, now I will create a view which will be equivalent to this particular table, which is this one. Why do we need a view? I told you that in order to create the gold layer, we cannot use this table because this will be updating with the time, and we cannot, by the way, this has failed. So let's see what's wrong. Okay. What's wrong? Column quantity, column unit price, maybe quantity and amount. There's no column called unit price. Oh man, again this suggestion broke my pipeline. Oh man. Perfect. Now this should work. I will say creating silver view for gold layer. Make sense? And do you know what? We just perform everything as it is. Everything, literally as everything. So now let me just show you the lineage first of all. So this is my lineage. This is my bronze table. Okay. This is my view. And on top of my view, I have a streaming table. Now what I need to do, I simply need to create a streaming view on top of it like this. Or I can simply use this view as well. Okay. So it's up to you how you want to set up your lineage. I am happy to use this view for my source as well. Are you getting a point? So this will be used as my gold table source as well. Source for my silver table, source for my gold table as well. Because in the silver layer, we do not create the slowly changing dimensions. We create the slowly changing dimensions in the gold layer itself. Make sense? And the best reason to create this particular view is we can get all the transformations that we have applied for this streaming table, because obviously this is the source, right? So that's the power of using a view every time for the streaming tables created in the silver layer. Make sense? Very good. So now let me just use a good name. I can simply say sales enriched view. Sales enriched view. Okay. And I need to say sales enriched view. Okay, makes sense. Okay, makes sense. So I'll be using the same view because obviously output will be the same. So let's say dry run one more time, and this is fine. All these things are complex things. Trust me. So feel happy if you are even understanding 10% of it. Because in one go you will understand 10%, in second go you will understand 30%, then 50%, then 60%, then 90%. 100% not really, because no one understands 100%. Everyone grows with the time, but yeah, 90% is a good percentage. So this is really, really good. Very, very good. We got a very good lineage. Let's do the same stuff with, let's say, products now. I will simply say, let's create another notebook. Not notebook, file. This will be called as transform products. Okay, perfect. So I can simply copy and paste the code just to save time. Okay. And obviously make some changes. First of all, products data. This will become products. This will become products. Perfect. So now what transformation we want to apply? Let's talk about it. So in the products data, yes, there'll be so many transformations. Let's say product name. Let me click on sample data. Do we have anything? We actually do not need any kind of sample data. So basically we have product name, we have category, we have price, we have so many things, right? So let's say you want to transform the data and you want to convert this price into integer. Let's say, okay, because this is a common scenario. You want to just typecast your data, right? What you can do in that thing, then you can simply apply the transformation. Let's do it. So I'll simply say df equals df dot with column, and this is not a new column, so I will just keep the name same, which is price. Then I will use something called as cast method, column price dot cast, not double, it will be integer. Okay, perfect. There are basically two ways. I can also write like this, integer type, and for that I need to import this API. Perfect. So this is done. This is called products enriched. Okay, and target is products enriched. Okay, and source will be products enriched view. Okay, and what will be the key column? Obviously products ID. Okay, and sequence by column is last modified, or basically last updated. As you can see it here, last updated. Okay, last updated, and everything is fine. Perfect. So let's actually click on dry run just to see like everything is fine. Okay, and I hope everything will be fine, but still let's see. And meanwhile I can create a new file. Transform, by the way there's an error, let's fix it. Okay, it is saying products ID. Obviously there is no column called products ID because we have product ID. Just a typo. So I will simply say product ID like this, then say dry run, and let's create our transform customers.py as well. Okay, so in this particular notebook I will simply say customers. Okay, then let's say customers, then customers. Okay, and what is the transformation that we want to apply on this particular table? So in this particular table we want to apply, let's say, customer name. Okay, and the customer name we want to just convert that customer name in the uppercase. Okay, I'll simply say df dot with column, and I'll simply say customer name, and I want to convert everything in the uppercase. Okay, perfect. And this will be called as customers. Perfect. And this will be called as customers enriched view, and then customer ID. Make sense? And I think the last updated date is, yeah, same, last updated, and everything is fine. Let's say dry run and let's see our silver layer. Our silver layer is actually ready. Okay, and now we're gonna create something called as gold layer, which is dimensional data model, and we're gonna work with slowly changing dimension. Don't worry, I will just give you a quick overview what are slowly changing dimensions and how do we just take care of those things. Then we're gonna just perform the end-to-end testing as well. Everything we're gonna cover. Don't worry at all. Don't worry. So perfect. As you can see, our flow is looking absolutely perfect. This is our bronze layer. These are our views for silver, and this is our silver layer. Perfect. Make sense? So now it's time to talk about gold layer, and before talking about gold layer, let me just give you a quick overview. What are slowly changing dimensions and why do we just need slowly changing dimensions, and how delta life tables are solving the problem for slowly changing dimension, and how easy it is to work with slowly changing dimension after the arrival of delta life table. Let me just show you. So let's talk about these slowly changing dimensions, and I would say this is the backbone of just creating a dimensional data model in which you just you just need to create dimensions, either it is type 1 or type 2. Basically slowly changing dimensions are of three types, majorly type 1, type 2, type 3, or I would say just type 1 and type 2 are the most popular ones. Type 3 is, I would say, rarely used, and type 4, type 5, type 6, I haven't seen anyone using those types. So the major ones are type 1 and type 2. Type 3 is like rarely used and other types are not being used, trust me. So first of all, let's talk about type 1. So basically, in slowly changing dimension type 1, let's say this is your products table. Okay. In our case, we also have products table, but it can be like any table. Okay. So let's say this was the initial state of the table and we made some changes in the table. Let's say I just changed the product category, basically this particular value. So what we will do, we will simply apply the upsert command on top of it. That is why it's also called as upsert. This is its like second most famous name, upsert. So what will happen? Let's say there is a change. We will simply override the existing table with the new or basically latest values. And if we have any new values, we will simply insert those values. Those are called as slowly changing dimension type 1. And you have already worked with slowly changing dimension type 1 in the silver layer, because we also created upserted tables. Because upserted tables are not only for the slowly changing dimensions, it is also for like, you can say, enriched tables as well. So that is why type 1 goes with both the scenarios, with SCDs, which is slowly changing dimension, or enriched tables. Okay, sorted. Type 2 is critical. Let me just tell you. Basically in type 2, we want to track the history of all the changes. For example, let's say these were all the values, right? So we simply try to add these three columns, which says start date, end date, and use flag. So what we do, let's say these are the values which are recently inserted. So we will simply add the start date. Make sense? This date will be the date when data was inserted. Expiry date or basically end date will be a very long date which is so far from now, because obviously this value is not expired. Okay. And then in use. In use means this value is in use right now. So now there are two different strategies for expiry date. Sometimes companies try to put a very long date, or sometimes companies just try to put null. That means this data was not expired. Or if it is a very long date, that means it will be expired a very long time after. Okay. Both will have the same meaning. Okay. So let's say there is a change. Let's say we want to change this value. What will happen? Basically, we will not simply update this value. We will keep this record as well. And we will simply say, hey, this was the previous record with this expiry date. And this is the new data which says category equals to here. Makes sense? So we are not simply updating or overwriting the data. We are storing the history as well. And do you know what? You do not need to write any code to work with slowly changing dimensions in delta live tables. Everything will be taken care automatically by the delta live tables. That is the one of the best advantages that I personally do like a lot about delta live tables. You do not need to worry about slowly changing dimensions, because slowly changing dimensions require a lot of efforts to maintain and to create. And the best thing is, it is very easy to create slowly changing dimension if you have very sorted data. But what if you have duplicates, you have some messy data? So all those things need to be taken care by you. But in delta live tables, it will be taken care by those fields called sequence by, because it will simply eliminate any kind of duplicates based on that particular key. Make sense? I am really excited to show you how you can just create slowly changing dimensions, and let's actually try to create slowly changing dimension on top of your silver layer in the gold layer. Okay, let's do it. So we are here. Okay, and let's create our gold folder. So I will simply go here in the source folder and then gold. Perfect. And let's create our first file. I will simply say curated and then products. Not curated, let's say dimension, and dimension will be called as products. Okay, because we have two dimension and one fact table. Okay, perfect. So this is our dim products, which is empty. Let's try to fill it. Okay, so as we know that we gonna create slowly changing dimension type 2, type 1, type 2. Basically we gonna create type 2 because type 2 is much more in demand. So we will be creating type 2. Okay. So now in order to do that, we already know that first of all, we need to write like this, import DLT. And in order to create a slowly changing dimension, we use something called as AUTOCDC flow. So for AUTOCDC flow, let's create an empty table, create empty streaming table. Make sense? Okay, good. Create empty streaming table. So now what we're gonna do, we'll simply say DLT dot create streaming table, and its name will be dim, and then you can say whatever dimension you want to create. Let's say dim customer. Okay, dim customer. So now what we need to do, this is our end table that we need to create, and now we will be creating a flow, and we will be using enriched view as our source, not the enriched table. Again, I'm repeating, we will be using enriched view, not the enriched table, because enriched table can be appended or changed, updated, right? And in order to work with streaming table, we can only work with append only sources. In case of view, it will only bring the new data. It will not be giving you any kind of updates, right? So we will simply say hashtag AUTOCDC flow. Okay. And we already know that how we can just create that. It is very simple. Simply DLT dot create AUTOCDC flow. AUTOCDC flow. Let me just connect it to this. Okay. And now we know that we need to fill all these things. Okay, perfect. So here the target is dim products. Dim products. Very good. Now the source will be products enriched view, not the table. Okay. Very good. If I click on this, if I click on maximized, so we need to use this one, products enriched view. Okay. Not this table, only this view. Okay, good. So now we need to create slowly changing dimension type 2, as we know, and sequence by yes, it is very important. So it will be like last updated. Very good. And everything else should be same. By the way, these two columns are really important for slowly changing dimension type 2. It is saying, hey, you want to track the history, right? Do you want to specify any column that you want to remove from the list, or you just want to add specifically? No, we want to just track everything. Okay. But you have the leverage to remove it. Okay. So this is the thing, and I think it should be good. Let me just click on dry run. And I should see the flow from view itself, not from the table. And if it is good, then it is fine. Okay, okay, okay. Let's wait a little bit. Okay, pipeline has failed. Wow. Let's see view details. Click on view logs, and I want to see the error. Where is that window? Okay. 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 Pipeline initialization. Let's see if we have anything. Okay, create this. Oh, we need to simply say dim products, not customers. And we also didn't define the keys. Wow. We can simply say product ID. Okay. And this is dim products. Okay. Now I think it's good. Let's say dry run one more time. This should be good. I think so. So once it is done, we will be creating our another dimension, and which will be exactly same. Then we'll be creating our fact table, and you already know like what do we do in fact table. In fact table, we simply apply the join with the dimensions just to bring the keys, and we already have the keys, so that is fine. So wow, information to apply updates in the correct order. Merge query requires sequencing information to apply updates. We have sequence by, right? Yeah, we have sequence by. So what is the thing? A column or function with last updates. Wow, last updates. It's not last updates, it's last updated. Minor issues, small typos. That's it. That is it. I think this time it should be good. I think so. Yes, now it is good. I told you. And as you can see, that graph is looking extremely good. And this is our dimension that we have created, right? Very good. So now what we're gonna do, we'll simply say, let's copy this for our dimension customers. Let's create a new file. Basically, we can clone this file as well. So it's totally up to you. I will simply say clone this, and this name will be dim customers. Okay, perfect. Dim customers. Okay. And we need to make some small changes here. Dim customers. And then dim customers. And here it will become customers. And this will be customer ID. And I think rest of the things are same. Yeah. Let's call it as dry run. And meanwhile, I can simply click on, what is this? What is this? What is this, man? What is this? So okay, perfect. So meanwhile, I can simply create my fact table as well, because I know like this will also be fine. So let's create our fact table. So now in order to create a fact table, okay, this is also working fine. Okay, in order to create the fact table, we know that our data is fine. Okay, and we also have all the kinds of IDs that we want. So I will simply say clone this one. Okay, and this time I will simply say fact sales. For fact sales, you do not need to create a slowly changing dimension. No, just an upsorted table will be fine. Okay, so in order to create an upsorted table, you already know how to create that. So I'll simply say fact sales. Okay, and this will become my fact sales, and this will be my sales enriched view. Perfect. This will become my sales ID, and in this we have sale timestamp. Perfect. And here instead of 2 we need to write 1, because we do not need a slowly changing dimension. We just need an upsorted table. Okay, let's see if it is working fine. So now everything is there. Our basically dimensional data model is ready in gold layer. I know it is running fine, so let's wait to confirm. Okay, what is the next step? Like once it is done, like what exactly we need to do? Now we also need to create found duplicate table dim products. What? Dim products? We are in fact sales, right? Oh, Do you know what did we do? We just changed everything in this in the sales. Okay, so now what we need to do, we need to simply remove it. Okay, and in order to remove it, I will simply create a new demo file. Demo, and put it there. Perfect. And fact sales is this one. I need to simply delete it. Perfect. And fact sales will be renamed dem products. Perfect. And in the demo, we need to simply rename it to factsales.py. Everything is done. Yes. Now let's say dry run for one more time. Let's call dry run. Okay, let's run it. So yeah, I was saying that now after getting the dimensional data model, we also need to create a kind of business view. What are business views? So basically, whenever you just create dimensional data model, you always get some requirements from your business leaders who ask for specific business views which are fulfilling a kind of use case. It can be very generic, it can be very narrowed down, it totally depends upon the requirements. So basically in this particular business view as well, we have a requirement, okay, and we have an error as well. Let's see what's the error. Found duplicate table, DLD Ansh, DLD schema, DLD products. Really? Okay. What is the thing, bro? Okay, fact sales, sale timestamp, everything is fine. In the products, dim products, product ID, in dim customers. Oh, I see. What did we do? In dim customers, we just put like this. We need to write like this, right? Dim customers. Maybe we didn't save the changes. I don't know. Customer ID, and that's it. Let's say try run. Okay, sorted. So what do we need to achieve in this particular business view? Let me just take you to Databricks. So basically we have, let's say, products. Okay, we have sales, we have customers. So in the customers, we have customer ID, and then we have customer name and region. See, in this region. So basically we want to find in which region we are getting the maximum number of sales. Okay. One thing is this, like by which region we are getting the maximum number of sales, and the second thing is for which particular kind of category. Are you getting a point? First of all, region, then in each region I want categories, and then I want sales. This is a kind of business view I need to create. Okay, so we will be creating it right away once all the lineage is fine. Now everything is fine. So okay, this looks really good. Now let's create our business view in the gold layer. I will simply call it as BV, which is business view. Okay, or let's say business, and then I will simply say region cat sales, or basically business sales in short. Okay, perfect. So now in order to do that, we need to write some custom logics. Okay, so how we can just write it, let me just show you. So first of all, what will be our source? Obviously our source will be our fact table and both the dimension tables. That is for sure. Okay, and both are like, all the tables are streaming tables. So what we will doing, we will be simply creating a streaming view on top of that. Simple. And on top of that streaming view, we can create a kind of, you can say, not like streaming view. Actually, I think we should create a normal view, or basically matte view, because once we have all the data ready, we want to just highlight that. We do not want to just process incremental data. Make sense? So now we will be creating a materialized view. Import DLT. Okay, I will simply say creating a materialized, a matte business view. Okay, very good. So this is basically a materialized business view. So I will simply say @DLT.table name equals business sales. Okay, def business sales, and then I will simply say def equals, and this time I will simply say def fact equals spark dot read dot table fact sales, and this is my dimension, which is not business, this is basically products, or you can say customers. Okay, because in the customers we have region column, and then we have df this is dim customers, this is dim products. Okay, makes sense. So what we need to do now, we will be just applying the join. Okay, I will simply say df join equals df fact dot join df customers. This is the first join. Okay, inner is fine, then this is the second join. So this is my joined version of df. Okay, in which I have all the columns. So what I will say now, I will simply say df pruned, because now I just want to prune the tables, right? I will simply say I want first of all region. Okay, then I want category, then I want sales, or basically total amount, or basically total. Yeah, we created the column called total amount, right? I think so. Okay, and let's say return df. I know we still need to apply aggregation, but I'm simply applying dry run. Why? Because I want to see that we have that column, right? This one, total amount, just to make sure like everything is right from the schema point of view. Once it is fine, we can simply apply the aggregation logic. Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. So this is simply like PySpark code that we are writing. Okay, nothing special and very basic PySpark code. We are simply applying join, and then we are simply applying select. Yes, now we'll be applying an aggregation command, and let's see how we can just apply that. Let's confirm first of all that all the schema, all the columns are fine. Okay. Oh, that is fine. Very good. So now I will simply applying aggregation version. So this is the thing we need. Yes, this is exactly fine. df.group by. Okay, we need to apply group by on two columns. Yes, region and category. Then we need to find .agg, and after this I will need to just change this code. I will simply say .agg sum of total amount, and I will simply say total revenue, or basically total sales. Total sales is fine, and that is fine, and I will simply return df agg. This way I will get the aggregated version of it. Make sense? Aggregated version of it. So this is my business view that I have created on top of my fact dimension and another dimension. And yes, this should be materialized view, otherwise you will not get the right data. If you create a streaming view, let's say you create a streaming view, you will not be able to find the right amount, because it will only and only process the incremental data. But in order to find the business views, you need all the data sitting in fact and dimension tables, right? That is why materialized view is a great choice. So let's say dry run, and if everything is fine, I am very excited to run my whole DLT pipeline that we have created. And once it is done, once it is created, then we will be creating, you can say not creating, we will be running or basically validating our pipeline by inserting new data. We will be just confirming our silver layers working fine, our dimensions are working fine, the gold layer, everything. So yeah, it's a kind of risky thing, but risks are good, right? So let's see. Unsupported operand int and string. Okay, unsupported. Unsupported operand. Let me just drag it. Okay, business sales for plus int and string. Okay, int and string. Dot group by region and category. Dot agg sum of total amount. Okay, total amount is integer, right? Why it is saying that integer? And blah blah blah. Hmm. Dot alias total sales. Okay. Hmm. Okay, let me click on diagnose error. By the way, it is a great button that you can also use. So diagnose error help you just to find the bug if you have anything. So it is saying that .agg, this code imports some, oh, we didn't import the sum function. Okay, that's why it was, let's see. I don't think so it should create any problem without importing it, but yeah, let's try. Import asterisk, let's say try run. What I am thinking, I think that it doesn't even have that particular column, I think so. And sum of total amount. Let's see. Obviously, if there are some bugs, errors, we need to fix it. And obviously, we will fix it. Don't worry. Okay, don't worry. And if it is not fixed, then I will open a notebook. And that's the power of explorations folder in our DLT. We can actually see, oh, it worked. I think that was the issue. We didn't import the sum function. Okay, that is fine. So now what do we need to do? We can simply say run pipeline. Okay, are you excited to run it? By the way, let me just show you how many things we have for source code. So basically we have these three folders, basically 4 folders inside this source code folder, in which we have commented out everything in this tutorial, and the major folders are these one. So when I will be just triggering run pipeline, all these 3 folders will be running, you know this, right? And within this we have so many files. And just imagine when this was not upgraded, we were writing whole code in just one notebook. How messy it would be, right? So now I'm really excited to click on run pipeline, and now my run pipeline is running. And now let's see what happens. Let me just click on maximize just to see everything. Okay. By the way, you can also change the graph from horizontal to vertical. You just need to click on this one, more options, and this is the one. So if you like this view, it's fine. I personally like horizontal view, so I will simply pick horizontal like this. Okay, so it's up to you. If you like vertical view, you can also do that. So now it is running, and you can see that our lineage is automatically created for us, and it looks really good, this whole lineage. And these tables are running, as you can see, and these are completed. And now these tables are running. Okay. Oh, okay. So our gold layer is running right now. Okay, makes sense. I hope everything is fine. Okay, perfect. Okay, gold layer is also populated. Now our business sales is running. Okay, everything is fine, all green. If you also saw all green in one go, just comment it down and just say, hey, I see all the green marks and everything is running fine. Whatever you want to say, just write it in the comment section. I want to see how many have you completed this in just one go. Okay, so now it's time to actually validate our, you can say, model. So how we can just validate it? I will simply go to my GitHub. Okay, GitHub, Ansh Lamba, maybe this one. Yeah, so I will simply go to repositories and Ansh Lamba YouTube, and then delta live tables. Okay, perfect. And this is the DDL file that we are using. Now it's time to actually add the incremental data. So as you can see that we are adding 2 more records in our sales, which is sales east. Okay, and in sales west we have 2 more records. So in total there will be like, let's say, so 1 2 3 4 5 and 1 2 3 4 5. So in total there will be like 12. Okay, so I will simply go here and I will click on the query basically. So I will click here, workspace, Delta Declarative Pipelines, and then data warehouse source. So let's try to add data there. So this is the incremental load and it's time to add the values. So what I need to do, I need to simply run this portion of the code, this one. Okay. So let's add more values in the east. I will simply say run, start, attach and run. So this will insert 2 more records. So for now, I think in total we have 10 records, 5 in the east, 5 in the west, and we are adding 2 in the east and 2 in the west. Vast. Wow. So in total we should see now 14 records, and our pipeline should process only the new data. Okay. So this is inserted. Let's insert data for the west. So this is in the west. Okay. Let me run this. Okay, perfect. Now we need to add incremental data for slowly changing dimension, and this is challenging because we will be testing our slowly changing dimension data. So we are actually changing these two things for 203 and 208, and just remember this because we will be just validating this information if we are able to successfully create the history for this thing. Okay, so let me just run this one, and perfect. Now let's insert these records as well, and we are good to go. Perfect. Let me just say incremental data. Okay, and let's say run and select. Okay, perfect. Now we have new data. Now what I will do, I will first of all rerun this pipeline, and before that let me just show you what do we have in this customer staging. Okay, if I zoom it a little bit, these are my data. Basically in the table matrix I can see that it has written 12 records. Basically, what is this? Written records 12 in the customers. In the sales staging, it has written 10 records. Okay, and this time it should only write 4 records and 2 here because only 2 records are new. Okay, and 2 records here. Makes sense. Okay, let me just simply say run pipeline and let's see what happens. Let's see. Let's see. Preparing new graph. This is the main moment of this video. Why? Because we are just validating our whole development. Oh, okay. Now it has started. Okay. Let's quickly test this one. Sales stage. How many records it wrote? 4. Very good. It's working absolutely fine. What about customer staging? 2. Very good. 2. Very good. Now silver layer and gold layer are running. Let's wait. Okay, some are green. Okay. Okay, perfect. I'm very happy. So let's see in the customers enriched, what do we have? If I click here, I have written records dash, but upsorted records 4 because this is an upsorted table. Same should be here and same should be here as well. Very good. Upsorted records 2. Very good. Now in the dimension customers, upsorted records 4, and then here in the products 4. Very good. Fact sales, obviously this is just a fact sales table, and here we should see all the records. Very good. Return 6 records because every time it will be writing all the data. Okay. That's amazing. Now I want to show you something which is very, very special. If I take you to a new query, okay, and if I say how our dimensions are looking like right now, because that is very important. So I'll simply say select asterisk from, and if I pick DLT Ansh and schema will be DLT schema. So this will be like dim products. If I run this, you will see the exact dimension, slowly changing dimension type to ready. And we have two values for end at as well. Why? Because remember we updated two records, one for 208 and one for 203. So now we have 208 two times. See, this is the latest value because it has start date is new one. Okay, this is the new start date, and the end date is null obviously because this is not expired. But for the previous value, start date was the previous one and end date is this one at the time when we just updated this. That's how it takes care of all the history. That means you do not need to worry about this column or any column. Nothing. It will take care of everything. That's the power of your DLT. And if I just show you the business view, I will simply say business sales. It will give you all the region and all the categories between that. So basically east, then we have furniture, this is the sales, then central, then west, then east, then west, and everything is there. That's the power of DLT. And now the best thing is everything is incremental and mix of streaming plus batch within one solution. This is literally wow. Okay, so now let's talk about some out of the box things that you should be aware of. For example, how to monitor these pipelines and how we can just do a lot of things between that. So let's talk about some, you can say, things that you need to know and that are very, very good for data governance side as well. Let's talk about that. Now, we have created this beautiful DAG, and I love this particular complex DAG because see, that shows your dedication, that shows your hard work that you have put for your, you can say, development. And yes, see, we started right from here and then we just started creating more and more complex flows and everything. Okay, so let me just tell you a lot of things about these things. So as you know that right from here in the beginning, we just put some kind of, you can say, expectations, if you remember, right? So if I go to table matrix, I will see that these are my expectations and both the expectations are met. Okay, this is one kind of, you can say, monitoring that you should be able to see. Okay, let me just take you in the beginning. Okay, so let's go to actually the home page basically. Okay, so if I go here, if I go to, let's say, home page, so you just need to go to, you can say, your pipelines page. Okay, and where is that? So just click on this particular button, jobs and pipelines. Okay, so here you will see this pipeline that you have just created. Okay, simply click on it, then you will see this kind of canvas. Okay, this kind of canvas. If I drag it, let me just click on this. So this is a kind of canvas that you can see, and this canvas is very, very handy to monitor it. Why? Because you can see a lot of stuff on this particular canvas. You can see that, hey, these were basically, this is the latest run that it is showing. Okay, so it is saying, hey, I just processed 2 records and both the records were processed fine, then 2 here, then 4 here, then this was my view, and then this was a staging table, and 2 records were processed, 4 records were upsorted, and everything. If you click on any kind of, you can say, task, then this window or basically this tab will appear here, and what this will tell you a lot of things. You can even click on expectations and you will see all the expectations 100% are met. That is why all the data are flown in the downstream. Okay, So that's how you can actually see all the expectations and all the things. You can also see schema if you want to see the schema, and then flows as well. Obviously this is the flow for it. Okay, and flow type is append. So here you have all the details, everything. Similarly with all the other tasks as well. And if I click on this, let's say dimension customers, I will see expectations. I do not have any kind of expectations, but I have upserted records, which are 4, right? So that's how you can just take care of all the things. And if I zoom it here, you will see that it has processed all the 6 records because it is a materialized view that processes everything. Okay, very good. This is one of the areas that you should know about Delta Live tables, or basically you can say if you just want to monitor it. Okay. And if you will say, hey, let's say I want to edit something, and if I want to go back to that particular view, it is very simple. You can click on edit pipeline and it will take you to that particular new UI that you have, and you can just make the changes in your files and all the things. See, everything is there. So you can simply pick everything from here. But yes, you need to click on edit pipeline for that, which is this one. Okay, very good. Now there is a button which says development and production. What are these things? So basically by default, when we just develop the things, we want to keep the resources up and running. So that's why we always pick development. But once you have completed your development, once you just want to just push your code to production, you do not want to keep your resources up and running. So in that particular scenario, you can pick production. Okay, but do not do it in dev. Otherwise you will end up waiting for the resources to start and debug. Okay, then one of the most important things, if I click on settings, here you will see the same settings page that you were seeing on the new UI as well, because this is just the setting. Okay, if I scroll down, you will see a lot of things. One of the very popular thing is notifications. Let's say this DLT pipeline fails or breaks in between, then you have an option to add the notification. And you can even set up your email. If I click on add notification, I will simply say email recipients. You can simply add your personal email account, and you will simply say, hey, if this pipeline fails, I want to be notified. So this feature is embedded within the DLT, and I love this feature. Okay, and then you can simply say save, and that's it. Make sense? Okay, very good. Then let me just show you one more thing. This whole UI, all these things are actually stored in the form of JSON as well, and are stored in the form of YAML as well. By the way, if you do not know about YAML, YAML is, I think, int markup language. Okay, this is very popular and becoming more and more popular with the frameworks such as DBT, DLT, where we are actually using declarative frameworks because everything is managed using YAML. So I would simply say just be familiar with some YAML syntax, YAML frameworks, not frameworks basically, frameworks using YAML. So you need to be aware of YAML as well. YAML is nothing but a kind of structure that we use which is similar to JSON but not actually the JSON. Okay, so for example, we have key value pairs like this, and this is a kind of list that we use with the prefix as hyphen. So these are some of the things that you should be aware of. Like YAML is becoming more and more popular. Okay, so it's not a very big thing to learn. I would say you will hardly spend 10 to 15 minutes to be just familiar with this syntax. That's it. Okay, because those 15 minutes can actually upskill you a lot. Okay, very good. So this was all about this thing. And one more thing that I like to mention, one thing is called, I think, where is that, configuration. So let's say you want to add parameters in your Delta Live table pipeline. Okay, so you can simply add configuration, and here is the key value pair. Let's say I want to add parameter 1. So let's say I want to write something like this, ABC, comma, XYZ, comma, AAA. So the thing is, anything that we put here in the settings, anything in the configuration, even if I am just putting like this, let's say dictionary, let's say key value pair ID, then let's say 1, 2, 3 and blah, blah, blah. Everything will be converted into string, everything. So just make sure this thing, if you are using parameters within your Delta Live tables, you need to convert that string dictionary into normal dictionary or string JSON into normal JSON. Or if you are using, you can say like this, let's say ABC XYZ. Then you can simply use split function to convert this into a list. So that those things you need to take care of. Okay. And then you can add so many parameters. There's no limit. So just a quick one. You will hardly add parameters in your DLT pipelines because it is already declarative. But if you want to add, you can add. Okay. Perfect. So now one more thing, which is schedule. If you, let's say, want to schedule your pipeline, because obviously once it is developed, once you want to schedule it for production, or maybe let's say for your unit testing, you can schedule it so that you do not need to come here and click on run pipeline. Simply click on schedule, and then you will simply say this should be running every single day, maybe every hour, depends upon your requirements. Performance optimization, you can obviously pick it. Okay. And then simply say create. It will be running your DLT pipeline on a schedule, and you do not need to run it manually. Make sense? Make sense? Make sense? Make sense? Very good. Now everything we covered for DLT. Okay. Make sense. Okay. If I now click on something called as jobs and pipelines, so you know that we have created this pipeline. You can even embed a DLT pipeline within a Databricks job. Okay. If I click on job, okay. If I click on job, basically this is a new UI that they have just launched, I think few days back in the last week of July. So I will simply switch to the previous UI so that you will not be feeling confused. Yeah, this is the previous UI. So you can even configure your DLT pipeline within a job. Yes, you can. So I will simply say, let's say this is my job. Okay. And this is the task that I want to create in a job. I will simply say DLT. Okay. And instead of picking notebook, I will simply say I want to pick pipeline. So here I can pick my DLT tutorial pipeline. So this way you can even orchestrate your DLT pipeline within a job. Make sense? Within a job, you can orchestrate the pipeline. That means this is your first pipeline. Let's say you have another pipeline, or you have some other activities, blah, blah, blah. Don't worry. If you want a dedicated video on Databricks Lakeflow jobs, and I think you should, okay, because Databricks Lakeflow jobs are totally changed and so many cool things are there. So if you want that, just let me know in the comment section. I will definitely create a video for that as well. But yeah, that is a different topic in itself, but I'm just giving you some hints that you can just orchestrate DLT pipelines using Databricks Lakeflow jobs as well. Make sense? Okay. So I would say that is all about your DLT, aka Databricks Declarative Pipelines. Okay, and this is the one. And let me just tell you one thing. Make sure you do not create more than one DLT pipeline in Databricks at one time, because you are using free resources. It can be exhausted very, very soon. If you want to create a new one, just make sure that you delete the existing one. Okay, because I was also facing some errors. I was not able to create multiple pipelines in one go. So always make sure this thing. Okay, because you are using free resources. So obviously you need to just take care of all those things. Make sense? And one last thing that I want to talk about is job runs. If you just want to see, hey, what are my job runs, what we have run so far. So everything is in this particular tab, which is job runs. So if you do not have any kind of job, obviously it will not be coming here. If you simply say ETL pipeline, then obviously you can create a new one, but we do not need to create one. Okay. So this is basically kind of monitor tab where you can monitor everything. If you embed ETL pipeline within job, it will come here. Make sense? But if you want to monitor a specific pipeline, then yes, you have to click on it, and then you need to just, you can say, monitor it independently. See, all the event logs are here, all the event logs. See, all the history is here. That's it. Simple, simple, simple. I hope that this Databricks Declarative Pipelines tutorial is helpful. And I would say just rewatch this particular video multiple times, because more you will practice DLT, more proficient you will become, more hands-on you will gain, more knowledge you will absorb, and that's it. So if you loved this video, I know you loved this video. So just drop a lovely comment on this comment section, because it will help me to grow. And the video that is coming on the screen right now, that is specifically made for you, and just click on this video and I will see you there. Happy learning.